What's up, everyone? Backstreet's back. All right. Oh, man. Welcome to another edition of AOS Trash Pandas. I'm one of your hosts, Robert. And with me, as usual, is my other co-host, Carlsonert. Yeah.
Carlsonert. It's the first time I heard that. Wow. I think the worst someone's messed up my name was probably at Starbucks where someone called me Carsol. I was like, it sounds like something you get prescribed to you.
Yeah, I hope that rash also cleared up.
Before we even started, Nick Williams, thank you so much for becoming a channel member.
Yo, Nick, thank you so much. Yeah. That is so kind.
And I have some things to share. I have so many things to share from the Meat Dimension today.
Okay.
The Meat Dimension has been extremely kind to me over the past 2 weeks because I think it was missing the last week's live streams. So it's kind of being a little bit clingy. But so first of all, we've got some spoils of war. I'm just going to go in order of how things came. We went to Winnipeg. That was the last thing we remember.
That's the last thing we remember.
Itself. Sorry, not the
How much did you drink? My God, what did they do to you out there?
We've got the Battered Bison trophy.
Nice.
Looks excellent.
Nice. You came with a win. Came with
a win.
Yep.
Coming back from Winnipeg. Everyone there was super nice. Had a great time. Highly recommend it next year for people looking for a good tournament. You know, Winnipeg's easy to get to via flight, and it's cheap to stay in. So 100% going to go back next year.
Nice.
And they even, as like the prize, they're going to be sending me a Skaventide box, which is crazy.
That's amazing.
What
an incredible tournament and prize.
So many awesome people there. Kenrick and I had a great time. So thank you to the Winnipeg locals and everyone from the surrounding area too. Like we stayed with some people from Saskatchewan that were just golden. Awesome people. And then last weekend, we went down to Bellingham for a little GT, which was super awesome. And I got a very thoughtful gift from our resident local Matt Beasley, who is just a nice guy. He got me this nice meat cookbook.
That's so cool.
Because our whole club grudge matched his whole club down in Bellingham because it was like, this is the last GT of third for a lot of us. So why not just have fun? And he has this, it's like full of like meat recipes. Like it's great.
I'm actually I'm actually pretty jealous.
I'm definitely going to pick something out of here and cook it. I'm not going to serve it to Matt because he's like effectively vegan.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that.
I'm not going to do that. but yeah. And then
it's an even more thoughtful gift that he's not
exactly. Yeah.
He's not like just rubbing his face that he's vegan or, you know.
Totally. Puts aside our differences and gets me the meat book.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a threat though. If he's telling me to cook meat and I'm in the meat dimension, it's kind of maybe he's trying to burn my house down. Is how I interpret it. But
I mean it's like a gingerbread house kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's fine.
But yeah, Bellingham was a great tournament. Had a lot of fun there. Didn't win that when I came in third, but I did win best painted. And I ended up picking up this for myself finally.
Yeah.
Finally got a Kragnos for myself.
You can finally stop borrowing mine.
Yeah. It's still sealed in the box.
Damn it.
And then lastly, one more thing even.
Oh.
I got my Nexus Chaotica for Slaves to Darkness.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That thing is big. Like the box, anyway.
Yeah. It's still sealed in the box, but yeah, it looks pretty huge.
Yeah.
I've got some interesting ideas for what I want to do with it for like the kind of like Bretonian-esque stuff. But yeah.
Ooh.
See Matthew is.
Oh, and by the way,
box.
very early, Dominic said, "I'm shilling for Saga in the Winnipeg chat, so say nice things, Carson and Kenrick." You already did. But just in case, I wanted to point that out. Ledivicus is here for the nonsense. We appreciate that. That is the only thing I'll ever promise you. Sound issues and nonsense.
Yeah.
By the way, how is the sound this week?
It would be hilarious if no one could hear me this
whole time. I mean, you gotta think.
And, like showing things to the camera like some sort of kindergartner on show and tell day.
Now do that all over again, but this time with sound, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 5 minutes of that. Okay, so are you done with your sharing? I don't want to interrupt
I am.
it.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
I am.
No, no, no. That wasn't like an insinuation. I just wanted to make sure because sometimes I just do that. I sound as good tonight. I like that you added tonight. I mean, I get it, but yes, it does hurt. You're not wrong. Okay, so we've got a lot to go through, and a lot of nonsense. But first and foremost, I just want to point to what's on the screen right now. We finally got an official date. I've seen people talking about this for a while. That like everyone's kind of going, I hope it's the 7th or the 6th. Yeah, the 6th. But the 13th seems like the right date. Like if you're going to pick, a date, like just make it a week later and then it comes out on the 13th. So that is the date that Skaventide comes to stores. It goes up for pre-order on the 29th. So obviously, I was a little worried there might be a 3-week pre-order, but yeah, we got a nice 2-week pre-order. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's like 1 week later than I probably thought it was going to be. But
we both
still,
predicted, I think, the 6th.
Something like that. I think every time there's like a big box like this, we always make predictions and then immediately forget what those predictions are the next
yeah
the next episode.
I'm almost positive we both predicted the first week, essentially at the end of the first week.
Yeah. But yeah, so if it's going to be like anything kind of similar to what 40K was, it's probably going to be that the pre-order is like happening on the 29th, and then like that the weekdays following will be like when we actually see all of the indexes dropped, the rules.
Right.
Probably like a Grand Alliance at a time or something like that.
Did you check that, by the way?
No, that's just what I saw people say.
Oh, okay. Because I saw other people say that they were sure that the indexes didn't drop until like the day that everything came out, and I don't remember at all because I was not paying attention.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Alexa Balco says, "Congrats, Carson, on the battered bison win. Great to meet you." But yeah, I think that's Yuri in the chat. 100%. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember in the last game that I played against Dom, who's also in the chat today.
That is Yuri, by the way.
I bought some. There's the 7-Eleven that was like next door to the event, and it had like bison sticks, like instead of beef jerky.
Oh man!
Or like in the beef jerky section, and I bought them, and I was just like ripped open the package. It was packaged of 2. I gave 1 to Dom, 1 to myself. We like touched sticks.
Ooh!
And then like I remember I made eye contact with Yuri and like took a bite. And I did this thing that was like probably the coolest thing I've done ever, where I just like flipped it and did like a little flip, and then I caught it with the other hand and like walked around and continued my game. And I was like, God damn, that was cool. I'm never gonna do that again.
Yeah, like lands right on the ground, and you with your actually, you know what's super funny is I never told you this, but that weekend, so it was my wife's birthday over the weekend, and so we had my brother over and everything. And on Saturday, while you were playing at Battered Bison, we made bison burgers, and they were amazing on the barbecue.
So you're saying that you like blessed me with your cooking that day.
Yep, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was definitely only thinking about you during my wife's birthday. I just want to make that super clear.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's how I want it.
Yeah. Me too.
There were some crazy that explains a lot if that's true, because there's some crazy things that happened in that tournament. Like I remember I played against a Beast of Chaos player who charged like the Iron Blaster and some Iron Guts with Bulgor.
Okay.
Killed everything except 1 Iron Gut, and then that single Iron Gut proceeded to wipe the entire unit of Bulgor by himself.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy.
We definitely did. I'll tell you where I got them from after the stream. But you can buy, they're like $5.50 a patty, but they're big, and you can get 4 for $20. So we ended up getting 6. So we had enough for everyone, that wanted them, but yeah, they were super good. Congrats.
Awesome.
Our Thunderstrike GT is going to be the 4th, 1 week after release. It's going to be chaos. Wow. So the The 4th, though, would be a week before the release.
I think he means maybe the release of the indexes.
Oh, hopefully. Yeah, I
Indices?
hope that they come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully
Yeah.
we get the rules and everything. What
I
up?
hope so too. I really want to dig into those as soon as possible because the next tournament that we're going to be going to, Kenrick and I and a lot of people from our club actually, is going to be Tacoma, which is supposed to be like the first big GT of 4th. And that's going to be huge. Like, yeah, it's going to be pretty massive, like showing up to a tournament where no one has ever played this edition before, probably like in a tournament game, and then having to play 8 games straight of it,
Right.
trying to just figure it out.
It's going to be really cool. But like, it's funny because if you don't, like, we have to get the faction focuses and we have to get the rules before the day of the tournament, right? So it's like, or wait, no, the tournament is 1 week after this. But that's still, like, that's crazy. Like, if they don't release it sooner than that. The other thing, too, is it's like, I don't know, like, the faction focuses are cool and everything, but it's more of like a tease than anything. I don't know about you, but like, the only one that I've read and felt good about was actually the Idoneth one. And I mean, that's aside from like, I'm not going to include Lumineth or Skaven in there because we saw like a lot more of their stuff during that game. So like they kind of don't count. Whereas like the other ones, it's like, I don't know. It just feels kind of weird to me. But yeah.
Yeah. I totally understand what you mean. I thought you were actually going to say Sons of Behemoth, just because we saw like 75% of their army's rules probably.
That's true.
Like,
I actually, things have been really crazy for the last like while. And so I didn't even get a chance to look at the Sons of Behemoth rules yet. But the Idoneth Deepkin ones, I was worried we were going to lose the tides. And so just knowing that we're keeping the tides, I was kind of like, I think I'm okay. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute.
100%.
But the Skaventide box, yeah, it's being pre-orders up on June the 29th, and it's in stores on July the 13th. Just the perfect date, you know?
Yeah.
Mwah.
Also, I just want to read Ladificus's message out. He says, now Carson to return... Oh, just skipped up. To return Rob's favor of the bison burger, I think it's only fair you consume a rat steak.
That's true.
I have a question. Is a rat steak like super small? Because like relatively speaking, it would be like the same cut.
You can do either, you know.
If you find me clean, like certified rat meat to eat, I'll eat it.
I don't know that you can legally buy rat meat.
Yeah.
I've heard that eating squirrel is quite like sketchy. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
Anything that eats meat, apparently you have to cook at a higher temperature as well, or you can get like trichinosis and like other parasites and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, like either a rat steak or like, you know, we could just get a bunch of rat meat and just make hamburger and you can make a rat burger, you know? If you can't legally buy rat meat, I will also accept black corn.
Black what?
Black corn. It's
black corn.
It's a delicacy of Skavenblight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me where to procure it, and I will eat it.
Okay. Excellent.
That's my
excellent. You know it's a sacrifice too, because it's not even meat.
Right? Oh.
It's just.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you could put it on the barbecue with meat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And
also, Bahamut, yes, Tacoma is going to be 4th edition. That's actually, I think, part of this article that Rob's looking at right now is
in the next one right here. The U.S. Tacoma Open Tacoma. Wait, isn't it Tacoma Open?
Yeah, whatever. All the words are there. They just mix them up, and it's fine.
Anyway, it's going to be the first one.
I love what Bahamut said in the chat. Grade F rat milk.
Yeah.
God, that sounds vile.
Don't knock it till you tried it, friend. Okay. Like, we are more closely genetically related to rats than almost anything else. Like, it goes apes and then it goes rodents. And the first mammal was a rodent. It was a giant rodent. So I'm just saying, we're all really rats at heart. Something to think about.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
And by the way, earlier Kiki Kenrick reminded us, reminded everyone, if you like what we do, and you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button. It really helps the channel out. Yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Oh, yes. Yeah, and Ledivicus also said earlier, apparently they've already given the Tacoma TOs the 4th rules, so they'll at least have time to read up. Well, and this is this is a tournament put on by GW, so they might have even had them earlier than that, right? But
so Tacoma is going to be Gareth again. I think that's going to be running as head TO. He's usually their go-to, and he basically unofficially said that it's going to be 4th. And he was actually, I think he was saying yesterday that it's not like abilities and stuff like that are probably going to be the hard part, or the remembering people's rules. It's going to be the tiny things, how does piling in work now? That's going to be the most time consuming thing that they have to keep an eye on as TOs, just because it's completely different than 3rd.
Right.
And to have to go through that whole spiel dozens of times probably over the weekend is going to be a pretty big time tax for them.
Well, and do we know that that's no longer a thing completely for sure?
What do you mean?
So now you charge in, right? You charge and you don't pile in?
No, we've seen that piling in we've seen how it works already.
Oh, okay.
It's just different, where it's basically you can't exit combat with anyone via piling anymore.
You can freely move around. You just can't leave combat if you're already in combat with something.
You basically pick a unit that you're already in combat with, and you say, I have to finish my move closer to that unit with all my models. But it can be any unit that you're in combat with. You can't leave combat with any units. Or if you're not in combat with anyone at the time, then you can just move in any direction you want.
Right.
Which I personally really like, because there's some shenanigans that you could pull before, where it's your opponent piles in something in a weird way that's behind you, and it's now slightly closer, and then now you can't pile into what you actually want to swing at, and it's just weird. So
it was over convoluted and complicated, and this is just a huge quality of life change, really. I was when after you said that about piling in, do you remember that rumor that piling in didn't exist anymore? You were just going to charge. I don't know if you saw that or not. I saw a bunch of stuff too. What was the other one? Was the other one that have you heard this as well, that allies don't exist in AOS 4? That it's regiments of renown.
I have heard that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then today I was in I took a quick look at the WhatsApp group for Idoneth Deepkin, and one of the guys in there was just I was just kind of repeating that rumor. I just said the rumor is that allies don't exist anymore, and that you only have regiments of renown. And then the guy was I'm the only one who's been talking about that. And I'm like, well, I heard this rumor weeks ago. I'm not just, I normally don't even look at WhatsApp. The only WhatsApp group I normally look at is the Skaven group, because they are the nicest people. They're just it's just the best group ever. But I'm still in 8 or 10 WhatsApp groups. The only reason I don't uninstall WhatsApp is because of the Skaven group. So shout outs to them. They do watch sometimes. But yeah, there's a bunch of kind of rumors and some stuff that's been sort of debunked and whatnot. The Allies one seems pretty solid. And I think I remember who we both heard it from, but I don't know that they're,
Yeah.
whatever.
I kind of like it, to be honest.
Me too.
There's some people out there that love making soup armies.
Mm-hmm.
And as an ogre player, you'd think I would too. But I think that it's just such a rat's nest when it comes to balancing, that I understand why, from a design perspective, they wouldn't want to have allies in the game. Except for regiments of renown, where it's just under these very specific circumstances can you have allies, and no other circumstances can you have allies.
It makes balancing the game very difficult. You know what I mean? I've never been one to do it. I don't think I'm a very thematic army builder. I really like to work within the confines of the lore and everything else. That's part of just how I like to do it. So even though Aether Wings in Idoneth Deepkin are absurdly strong, because of the way Forgotten Nightmares works in the current rules, I still have never, and like I even like made not conversions, but like I have this amazing proxy idea if I ever were to do it, which was I just took like some of the fish you get in the different kits and whatnot. And I was just gonna build a set of Aetherwing sort of substitutions with them, but yeah, I didn't end up doing it. I don't like it.
Also, a crazy amount of people from Winnipeg in the chat tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's so awesome. I'm sure they appreciated you guys going out there, and we appreciate you guys hanging out. But yeah, so like Carson said, or whatever your name is, Carl Turt? Krembin. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be the first big tournament is Tacoma. Now we've got 2 rumor engines this week because we missed last week. Nurgle tried to take me out. I got a small localized preview of the Nurgle faction focus one day early. So this is last week's and it looks like a flap of skin. Maybe a leathery torn wing or a cape.
Yeah, I don't really know what this could be. This is so generic that it's like,
yeah,
could be anything.
I can't decide if I like it or not.
I think this is leaning on too generic.
I think it's just, I agree. Like if they just made it a little, like they've shown us a little bit more, you know what I mean? Shrink it down, show us a little bit more, and then maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right though.
Yeah. Like it's pretty tattered. You can see that there's like little holes in it. So like it probably belongs to something that's like death or assuming it's Age of Sigmar death or like maybe Slaves to Darkness or something like that. But
right.
That's about as, close as you're going to get, I think. And then in 40K, if it's anything, it's probably Chaos Space Marines or something.
Yeah.
Or no, they just got a book, didn't they? So probably not.
Maybe it's the rumored Dark Mechanicus then?
Oh yeah,
Some
yeah,
flayed
that could
skin.
be it too.
There's lots of different. The thing is there's so many different like Chaos Space Marines just got a thing, but then there's Chaos Space Marines Nurgle, Zeech, Oh, and then true. I think what is it? The Sun's Emperor's Children.
Yep,
they're rumored as well, I think, and I know they're big into flayed skin. Ugh. Anyway, moving right along.
Beefy says zombie dragon.
So, oh yes, good call. So I would actually, it's funny. I just had this chat with Jason the other day. I was saying like when we do get a Soulblight book, like what if we got that amazing like blood dragon that's on the front cover of it that we were thinking back in the day that was what we were going to get and we never got it. Like what if we got that? And he was like, yeah, because they're trying to separate the games like the old world and whatnot more and more, right? So they could kick over the old zombie dragon kit over to the old world and then we could get a new kit and that would be awesome. That's what I want.
That'd be pretty rad. Also, I do find it like a little bit funny that the old world is just getting like literally the old models.
I know. It's kind of crazy. Like,
yeah,
they seem okay with it though. So
I know it's kind of like, oh,
God bless them. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is great. Yeah. I mean, I think it's smart of like GW personally. And in a weird way, I think it's kind of smart of them to just be happy with it because they wanted their game. You know what I mean? And like nothing's stopping them from buying the Age of Sigmar kits if that's what they want. Like I know a bunch of people were doing that for Saurus Warriors. But yeah. I mean, I'd be a little bummed myself because I do have, I don't know how many of those kits. I'll still use them, like whatever. This is 5 zombie dragons. That is a lot. I don't have that many fully built and painted, but I've got at least 3. So, but I don't know. I'm one of those people who likes new models, like I went to the Skaven WhatsApp group first and foremost, and someone in there, and I don't remember who it was, but they were kind of saying like, is anyone else kind of like meh about like the upcoming release or something along those lines? And my first reaction was like, what? Like, are you out of your mind? And then someone else was kind of saying, like, I kind of know what you mean. And then another person was like, no, I am just excited, like super excited. And at first I was like, yeah, I'm with that person. I'm just super excited. But then I was like, you know what? Like, I bet some people are feeling like anxiety because, like, like this is something that, like, I've personally been building up for a long time. And now that it's finally here, you're kind of going like, I hope it meets my expectations. But like, the models is the one thing they've been just murdering for the past, what, like 6 years, 8 years almost,
Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely like meeting expectations is something to feel anxiety about. But I also think that the feeling of being left behind can kind of cause anxiety a little bit too, where
What do you mean?
I know that sometimes, so an example anecdotally is when the huge like Necron re-release happened, I bought all the new models and
Right.
I kind of started painting them up. But then I kind of just gave up on the game because I realized like I just don't have it in me to like keep up with this anymore. And it was just kind of like a very clear dividing point of like everything's new now, and I can either step away from the game or I can like relearn everything, like get all the new sculpts and kind of like dive back into it again. And ultimately I made the decision to step away from 40K at the time. And I understand that feeling where some people will have like all of their old models that they've painted up and they've been kind of up to date for a long time, but maybe they just want to step away from the game for a while. And the anxiety comes from like just being a little bit tired of relearning new things. And I think that's valid.
Yeah, no, it is. I never thought about it like that. And that's interesting. Like, I didn't realize that, because like for me, it's like my old clan rats are gonna look, fine next to the new ones. You know what I mean? Like the new ones look better, but I'm I'm okay. You know what I mean? But I understand. Like, I know what you mean. I was very glad that I didn't paint up any of those really ugly old Saurus warriors when the new ones came out, because I was just like, they just basically go in the trash. You know what I mean? Like, they look so derpy. But yeah, and that's why I didn't paint up any Night Runners or Gutter Runners, because like I really strongly disliked the old sculpts. Like they're one thing in my head, and they are a totally different thing on the tabletop. So yeah, that makes sense, and that's interesting. Obviously I knew some of your journey with the Necrons, because you and I split the 9th edition box set.
In Dominus, yeah.
Yeah. So
we sure did. Didn't we split 2, or did I split one with Ryan? Okay.
No. We both bought a whole box, and then we traded our bits and whatnot. Yeah. You have no anxiety about the new models coming. Some of these faction focuses haven't helped the index nerves, though. Yeah, same. We were talking about that before the show. Hopefully better than 40K out the gate. The rule set itself looks super exciting. Yeah, I totally agree. We were just talking about that too. Like it looks so good. It's one of those, like, and that's what I was saying about the faction focuses too, is it's like, it's really just like it's not even a preview. It's almost just like what do you call, like a taste, Yeah. So.
Yeah. And even then, like sometimes they'll be showing, the OBR one comes to mind, where every faction focus has had like a super big, like named character. And everyone was like, OBR, it's got to be Catacross. And they're like, it's Black Mortian, everyone. Didn't you want to see his rules? And we're like,
what? Yeah.
Yeah. Because Catacross is like such a, key component to so many lists in OBR right now. Like, and it's clear that with Vokmortian's new rule, like he's just not, right?
No.
And that's kind of an example of like, you can see these articles and they may have like the same amount of rules as one or the other, but just whatever war scrolls they decide to show you just might not be a good representation of what the army is, right? Like it just might not be what ends up being a key component to everybody's lists.
Yeah, that's really true. I'm not really sure. Like, I feel like they could have given us a little more info, but like when you come off of reading them and you're like, if you don't like the rules, like a lot of people, I'm looking at Ledivicus to the side here every now and again, but like the Gloomspike, and I was right there with him. I'm joking, of course, because like I think most of us that play Gloomspite Gits were like, God dang, like, man, they seem bad. You know what I mean? By comparison. But, you know, when you come off of that, you look at them and you're like, this doesn't seem great. Then you're like, okay, well, we hardly seen anything. So we just got to wait for the rest of it, right? But then if you like what you see, it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't have enough to really know. So anyway, that's why we're not going to do all of them this week, but I'll move on to the next and far more important preview image, rumor engine. Did you see this week's?
I did. Yes.
What do you think?
I want you to share what you think it is first.
Okay, so my original thought was definitely Storm Vermin.
Yeah.
Right? But the blade is kind of pitted. And it's also quite like curvy and like smooth, but the spear, the shaft of the spear looks quite skinny. So I'm thinking death. I'm thinking maybe Graveguard, but I don't know.
Beefy just agreed with you in the chat.
Did he?
Like, as soon as you said that, I saw it pop up.
And they are on a minute
yeah.
or so delay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, we're getting, but I wish it was Storm. That's what I was going to say, Ludivicus. Like, I think it's Graveguard, but I wish it was Storm Vermin. I feel like most Skaven stuff tends to be more triangular and straight edged for the most part. But I'd love like a nice curvy, sexy halberd. It could be Storm Vermin because, like, you know, rusted and whatnot. It could be Nurgle as well, to be honest. But yeah, if I were a betting man, you know.
My initial guess was actually Night Haunt, weirdly enough. Where like it
Yeah,
kind of
could be.
looks like, you know, like Night Haunt, like corroded weapons. They're like kind of
Yeah.
like very spiky and jagged and stuff like that. Specifically that spike on the back looks
That's
very Night Haunt to me.
Interesting.
Also, Dominic, Nurgle hero, not because I actually think it is, but because I want it to be 100% relatable.
Exactly.
It's actually an ogre weapon is what it is. This is all-
yeah. He was chewing on the blade. That's why it's pitted, you know?
Yeah. Pitted, just like his teeth. No, but yeah, I could definitely see this being death at the very least. I definitely see Graveguard. Would this be like the Great White Blade, basically?
Yeah, I think they might just do like...
Or one, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, because like they have the Great White Blades and then they have the swords and shields. But like, I think they're going to lean towards not doing like two different weapon profiles more and more. And they've already been doing that for death since AOS 2. At the very end, they had some Soulblight. A lot of the Soulblight stuff was like that. So I kind of hope that that's what it is. But you know, it could be. I would rather see this instead of like the Great Blades, because like it's hard to see at a distance what they are. You know what I mean? Like big swords or slightly smaller swords and shields, whereas they could have, you know, swords and shields and then have them halberds, and it's just like, okay, I understand what's going on here. You know?
Yeah. The only other like weird crackpot theory I have for it being Night Haunt that I saw a rumor out there that the order that they're releasing all of these faction focuses is the order that the books are going to come out.
I said that from the beginning.
Oh, did you? Okay,
do you remember? Yeah, I was like day one, and then someone said to me, I don't think so, because I think it was the FEC at the time. It was like the FEC came out pretty quick, and they were the last one to get a book. So, like,
right.
But
I mean, who knows? But what I was going to say though is that Night Haunt was the first death faction focus.
Right. That's true.
And that kind of lines up with, you know, the whole like 6 to 8 month timeline of these coming out.
The whole reason that I thought that was because they did like Stormcast and Skaven at the very beginning, And then they had in the week 1 they had destruction and they had death. And I was like, that feels like the kind of thing that they would want to do when they're releasing the books. Try and keep them somewhat on par, you know. Gits will trade spots
does
to
not seem to want that to be the case.
and that's I remember that last time. I remember Ledivicus saying that he didn't want that actually. So I think it was Ledivicus. It was someone about Gits because they didn't want them at the start because then that means they're going to be bad. But I always knew Skaven was going to be bad because they're a launch box faction, and so therefore they're going to be bad. But I don't care. I'm getting new models. That's all I care about. But here, more important than that, though, like, hopefully, this is like another thing that I have said in the past, but like, do you guys think, I know we all hope this, but do we think that they're going to do the same thing as 40K, where you get at least like a whole proper unit when you get a book? They kind of made that promise at the start of the 40K 10th edition. Like, you're going to get like actual support for every book that comes out.
I mean, I hope so.
Right?
I hope it's not just like the one single hero, especially for Soulblight's sake. I hope that's the case.
God dang, yeah, exactly.
They don't need any more
For Fire Slayers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few actually.
Yeah, so I hope so.
Yeah.
But I'm like kind of 50-50 on whether that's actually going to be the case.
I'd really like it to be, especially after they did these calls where it's like, okay, we're culling all of Bone Splitters. We're freeing up resources. We're culling all of Beasts of Chaos. So we're freeing up resources. And like, you go on and on, right? I feel like it's not that much to ask. You know what I mean? Like one box, you know, not like, and maybe a hero too, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think it's just that they've clearly really liked doing like big faction overhauls. Like we saw 3 or 4, I think, in 3rd edition.
For sure, and we don't want them to get rid of those, obviously.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that they plan on doing them.
Yep.
Like continuing to do them, and there's still a couple factions that need them for sure. But so I feel like if anything, 5th would be like the time when they start just like full on adding new models kind of thing.
That's fair. Okay, but like what other factions then do we think need a major refresh? Because we know Skaven's getting theirs. What's left that they haven't culled? And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I just mean like they culled a lot of everything that I could think of at the time that needed a refresh.
Ogres could use a refresh.
Oh,
for sure.
Ogres, right.
The IDK just needs more kits.
They need more kits. That's it. Yeah, they need like a Sylvaneth style add-on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think KO is kind of in the same boat also.
Ooh, love it.
And trying to think of what else. Yeah, there's some kits from Soulblight that are a little bit dated, like the Zombie Dragons and Terrorgeists and the Graveguard and stuff like that. They could be redone.
The Graveguard,
so they can definitely have a redo.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
There's a good handful of factions that could use it.
Yeah, you know, I don't know why I just kind of skipped over a lot of that. And there's still some stuff like even like Seraphon just got one. Probably aren't going to get one for a while. But like Temple Guard, god dang, like they're from the Derpy era. So like, I mean, maybe if they just did Temple Guard, then it'd be like, mwah, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a preview that was basically confirming either Temple Guard or a Temple Guard hero.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Same boat, how dare you?
He likes to enjoy your discomfort. Anyway.
Cities, Fire Slayer, Nurgle could all use more than 3D things. Cities just got a big overhaul, though. I know it's just humans, but...
That's probably what he was thinking, though, is that it was just humans.
Fair enough.
Man, Fire Slayers need the most. Like, I think they, you know, I'm not a Fire Slayers guy, but like, even if they, and they're not going to do this, but like, a lot of people really are hoping for that combined book. But if they don't do a combined book, they need to figure something out for Fire Slayers for sure. Like, they can't just keep adding heroes. Like, they've kind of been doing that for a lot of different factions, you know?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Kenrick brings up a good point. Slaanesh, like all of the major chaos gods, like battle line, are actually quite dated at this point. Like bloodletters, demonettes, pink horrors are really derpy looking.
Yeah.
And what's the Nurgle one? The
plague bearers.
Plague bearers. Yeah. They're okay. They look okay.
They're okay. The Nurglings hold up better. They weren't battle line in the last edition. He said Slaanesh, but Slaanesh got actually. I know you guys weren't around for this, but they got a major release in second edition, and then they got like another like mini kind of like half release. They got basically what we wish everyone got, where they got like a full meal deal, and then they got like the dessert kind of semi second release. They have a lot of stuff that's actually quite new. A lot of it I think wasn't great, like Glutos or whatever. Like that kit, it's not my thing at all. I think it's like my least favorite aesthetic they've ever done. I'm not a Slaanesh guy though, right? But like that kit though, like from a like, what do you call it? From like an altruistic, like sort of outside perspective, like the kit is immaculately made. If you're into Slaanesh, they nailed that aesthetic, and he's just never been good. So it's just like, there's a lot of models that I think you just don't see. Like Slangor came out when Slaanesh got a revamp. They have some stuff that could use it, like those old chariots that are like one of the worst kits apparently of all time to put together. But yeah, Epidemius. Yeah, isn't Epidemius resin? Festus is. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I see. Festus is also a resin model, right? Fireslayer priest riding surfboards on summoned magna waves like Zeech discs. That's an insane thought. I like it. I think most people are looking for something, I don't know, like some kind of cavalry I think would be good, not something like as big as the magma lizards, but like something a little smaller, I want that for IDK.
Sigmar in the chat.
What's that? Oh,
Sigmar in the chat.
Yo. Welcome. Thank you so much for
David.
Oh.
Hello?
Oh.
How's it going?
Yes. Sorry.
Sorry, we're starstruck. My goodness.
We are, this happens sometimes. Yeah, we've had a few different times we've been starstruck in the chat here. But yeah, thanks for showing up. The design of that era of Slaanesh models are a nightmare. Redo them just for that. Yeah, actually, I've heard that because Eric was really into Slaanesh, and then the other Rob also super into Slaanesh. I think you're referring to the Seekers, because like I think the Seekers and like what are they called, the Bliss Barb archers, and like all the stuff that's like everything that has a mount apparently is insane. Yeah. 2 kits to build the Exalted. Ugh. Yeah, that's awful. But yeah, I mean, like the problem is like, I remember when they got like, or it's kind of like what happened with Lumineth as well, right? Where Lumineth got like that major kind of release, and then they got the secondary release with the what temple? The Wind Temple, I think it is. The Kangaroo guys. And people don't really react to that super well. Like it's kind of weird because like when, I've been waiting for Skaven to get this re-release for so long, blah, blah, blah. I know I've said it a million times, but like I was just over the moon, right? But there were still people, like there's people who were complaining that Clan Rats were getting a revamp. And it's like, why are you complaining about this? Like, we knew this was going to happen. Like, I get that you like the old ones, but no one's stopping you from using them, So Like I don't see Slanesh getting something just because like they got 2 releases in a row, but Slanesh are popular, man.
Yeah, I just wouldn't be surprised if they replace the the 4 core battle lines of each army, just because they're so old at this point.
That'd be a great idea. Although, yeah, I guess so. Zeech is Arcanites. Arcanites are pretty new.
Those are great.
Yeah.
But
But you mean the horrors? Like, oh yeah, that's true.
Demons.
Yeah, the horrors are pretty ugly. Like,
yeah.
But the thing is, though, is that like in Total War, they don't look that great either. To be honest, you know what I mean? Like I feel like they could do a much better job in that game as well. Okay, horrors. I think Plague Bearers, actually, I would love to see a revamp of Plague Bearers because the Nurglings are so awesome. Like the Nurglings are perfection. And then, so like something that kind of matches that sort of weird cuteness, the creepy cuteness. And then what else? Bloodletters. Bloodletters are pretty old. I think they hold up like surprisingly well, but like not as much when you get in there. Like they're more from a distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they're actually ripe for revamp just because of that. Like they have like a really good silhouette.
Yeah.
They just need the details like filled out a little bit more, some like better posing maybe.
Right.
Yeah. And then the Demonettes I think just look bad, to be honest.
The Demonettes are old and fugly and they should be replaced for sure. Or fired into the sun. I'd love to see a bunch of Zeech models updated to match the aesthetic of totally. The Zeech was from, I want to say 7th edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or maybe it was it's like 7th or 8th edition. So they're pretty old. And then most of the models that got updated for Zeech happened during Silver Tower. Like a lot of those models are from the Silver Tower. So yeah, I could definitely see them getting it. Let me run 2,000 points of Nurglings, please. I've been good. Yeah. Oh man, do you remember by the way, welcome Tree Rat. Do you remember the whole Nurgle, like 7 days of Nurgle or whatever it was, or 12 days of Nurgle when they released that? That was so good. Like, I'm not a Nurgle guy either, but like some of those models are absolutely amazing. Like the Great Unclean one is like, it's truly like, it's special. Yeah. I don't think they could do any better. Like even now, you know?
I think the Great Unclean one's my favorite Greater Demon that they've released.
We're not including Skaven, I assume, right? Really?
We are including Skaven. Yeah.
Traitor meat.
I think it's just like it's just so like gross, and it's just this like
that's
rolling
true.
fat pile of like awful. It's everything I imagine Nurgle to be, and it's just perfect. I think so. Obviously, I think that the Vermin Lord is the best, right? And I don't even think that from a like being somewhat altruistic and trying to keep my biases out of it. I think that the Vermin Lord one holds up amazingly well, and it's just kind of a matter of opinion when it comes to that. But the Nurgle one, like in terms of nailing Nurgle, like the feel of Nurgle, I don't think it could be any better than that. And like I don't know how the Skaven one could be better either. I'm not really sure. But like, yeah, like both of those, they're perfect. The Lord of Change is really, really good. Like I love that model, but it's not perfect. Whereas the Nurgle one, I would argue, is perfect. I think the ones that need it the most, and I think the Slanesh ones are actually like perfect. They don't really need a revamp, and they're basically brand new as well. Yeah, I think they look great. You're talking about the
Bloodthirsters need it the most, I think.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I think they're honestly, I don't think they're even that great for the time. Like if I'm speaking my truth. you know?
And also, just from a functional perspective, I've never seen a model that snapped off of its base more than a Bloodthirster, probably.
Yeah.
I've seen more Bloodthirsters like emergency super glued back onto their base than any other model.
It's so true. Now, part of that, you should probably put the disclaimer is that the main people that we know that play it are Andy and Matthias, and they are hard on their models.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's also the design of the model that's the problem. Yeah. I mean, I think they learned from that. Like what they wanted to show is like this guy's got wings, so he should be jumping and he should be whatever. But like if you look at Angron, like he's not flying, but goddamn, like he's amazing. Or Kabunda, I don't think Kabunda is flying either, right? I can't remember. I can look it up. Let's see. Kabunda. It sounds like something you would yell when you go over.
Yeah, he's not flying. He just has wings.
He just has dope ass wings. He's got like a cool pose. I'm not sure if who I like more, Kabunda or Angron. Can you guys see him on the stream? Yeah, you can. Yeah. Like, god dang. What's crazy about him is he's resin too. That's a Force World model. Like, they're getting a lot better at sculpting those, hey? In resin?
Yeah. Yeah, they look fantastic. I actually think I like Kabunda better.
Like, than Angron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of... I'll put them both up so that the chat can yell about it. Well, and we have to remember that Angron isn't technically he's not a bloodthirster. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Be'lakor, fantastic model for sure.
Be'lakor is my favorite, and of any of the like winged like greater demon guys, yeah, absolutely. Idoneth Cryptborn has the best stance. He's got a pretty cool stance. I've actually been meaning to talk to you, Kenrick. But remind me to ask you, like, I need to talk to you about like what your main faction is. I have an idea, and it has to do with...
Yeah, where do your loyalties lie, Kenrick?
I'm being serious, Carson. I actually, because I have an idea for the channel, and I've been meaning to talk about it forever. But like, remind me later, Kenrick, Carson, me, and your loyalties. Okay, Angron was one of my favorite models to paint, maybe tied with Be'lakor. Yeah, Be'lakor. I bought Be'lakor basically to paint. I think it's the only model I've ever bought that I didn't like own, like his faction, and I just really want to paint him.
Rick Grimes pops into the chat. Oral, get back to the house.
Oh man,
it's a little bit of Walking Dead there for everybody. Thanks, Rick.
Oh my god, that's so great. But yeah, I think I like Kabunda more too. But to be honest, there's parts that I like about both of them, But I was saying like a couple of times, like if you're going to, like if you don't like the main bloodthirsters, just get Kabunda or something and use him, Although I guess it's kind of expensive.
It's probably much more expensive.
Yeah.
Just pay hundreds of dollars.
Other ways of getting it. I mean, actually, like, you might even consider just like 3D printing him unless you're going to like an official tournament or doing that kind of thing. But yeah,
we didn't say that, JW. We didn't say that.
There's also like Creature Caster and things like that. There's like so many options out there. I mean, like, I'm the type that like I don't really. Do I have anything that's 3D printed? Like, I know I own them, but most of the stuff that I have that's 3D printed, I think was... I can't even think of anything. Oh, I have like... So like, but it's like mostly just like, what do you call it? Like accessories or something like that. Like I have got how I have, not Gorgio, Duke Oscar Meyer, chairman of the opera board. He's my what's it called? The Gore Warden. That's what it is. And so I actually made a cape for him, like out of green stuff. And I took some sprue and I hand carved him like a walking cane that looks like it's made out of bone. But I couldn't make a top hat that I liked. And so Chaos Andy, who's hopefully going to be on the stream this Friday for the game, he 3D printed me a bunch of top hats. And so that way I could, give him a little bit of, dapper style, Yeah. But is that no Skaven Regiment of Renown? That's true. Maybe they'll make it later on. And so much cheaper than G-dubs. That's kind of the problem, right? And we're not telling anyone to do that. You know what I mean? But it's not like people don't know that 3D printers are a thing. But I mostly don't 3D print a lot of stuff. But Alex actually has he's got one of the better uses of 3D printers that I've seen as well. Like he has a bunch of Games Workshop giants, but before Broad ever came out, he just 3D printed this giant effing hammer to go on his general. And honestly, it's way cooler hammer than King Broad's or whatever the monster killer guy is, right? So, yeah. Anyway, should we move on to some faction focuses? Let's do it. Okay. So
I think we kind of picked 4 of our favorites over the last 2 weeks.
Favorites.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. So I mean, kinda, yeah. No, not favorites as in our favorite factions, although 2 of them are, But yeah, I wanted, or actually I didn't get one for death in here. I just realized, but the death ones haven't been super, provocative to me thus far.
Well, the only ones we've seen are Nighthaunt and Flesh Eater Courts, right?
And we saw OBR.
Oh, and OBR, right?
Yeah.
And
So
none of them were particularly super interesting.
No, I'm
sorry,
hoping
we
Soulblight
already
is.
covered Nighthaunt, which was interesting. Sorry.
That's true. Yes. That's what I was trying to
Flesh
say.
Eater Courts is basically the same as it is for 3rd, just because they probably designed that book with 4th in mind. And then OBR, we didn't get to really see a lot of core interesting things. It was just it was pretty samey, and we kind of saw that they weren't commands anymore. They had their own version again, so it's kind of back to 2nd edition.
Right.
But yeah, we're doing these 4 factions, and that's how it is.
That's what we're doing. So up first is our the Giants, Spawn of the World Titan. So we're not going to read all the flavor text and whatnot, but the battle traits.
Skip straight to the battle traits.
Yeah. So we got Timber. Each time a friendly Mega Gargant or Gargant model is slain before removing it from play, the players roll off. The winner picks a point on the battlefield within 3 inches of the model, inflicting D3 mortal wounds on each unit, friendly and enemy, within 3 inches of that point that has a lower health characteristic than that model.
So this is mostly the same as what it used to be, except it's not just repeated on every single war scroll. There's a couple key differences where Mega Gargants previously, I think, picked a point within 5 inches instead of 3 inches.
Oh.
And the whole more health than the models that they're landing on thing didn't really apply. Which is kind of interesting because it creates tiers to Gargants, whereas previously it was just Timber doesn't affect me as a Gargant player.
Yeah.
It never does.
It used to say on there it doesn't affect, right?
Sons of Behemoth is exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's if let's say a Kraken Eater falls down and it hits a Man Crusher, it could hurt the Man Crusher. If King Broad falls down and it hits a Kraken Eater, it could hurt the Kraken Eater, right? And I think that's kind of cool that it's there's a couple different layers where most of the time it probably won't matter. Kraken Eater falling into a Gatebreaker, who cares? But yeah, now you actually have to keep it in mind, and it's interesting. I like it.
And then this one is interesting too. So like it's, I mean, I know it's flavorful, and we've got Alex here in the chat, who's our resident Giants player and a very good one. This is another one of those like battle traits where it's like, it's not totally good for the player who's got it.
No.
Now, especially
it's just fun.
It is very fun. I mean, if you're playing Giants, I think you have to be enough to, like, you can't, if you're playing Giants as like a spike, it just doesn't work well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not sure how I would feel about it if I was in their shoes.
Yeah. Beefy brings up a good point too, which is that other monsters killing little giants won't take wounds, which is totally fair. Like if a Stonehorn goes and kills a Man Crusher, it can't take wounds from its timber, which is pretty cool.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. Neat.
Wait, how many? But don't they have more wounds than a Stonehorn?
No, it's 12. Man Crusher?
Oh, a Man Crusher. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the Mega Gargant. I was just like, wait, what? Things must have changed because got it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next ability is Gargant Charge, which is you declare you pick a friendly Mega Gargant or Gargant unit that charged this turn and has not used a Rampage ability this turn to use this ability. Then pick a visible enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target. Roll a d3 on a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. So this is effectively the Ogre Charge for Gargants, which is kind of interesting. This is kind of just a straight nerf, I think, because A, doesn't let you use other Rampages, and B, previously Mega Gargants were inflicting d6 mortal wounds on a 2-up. Right. And it was a 2-up on a d6 as well, not on a d3. So when you roll a d6, remember, it's a 3 that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So this is kind of just and this is also just pick a visible for enemy unit within 1 inch, whereas Mega Gargants previously were everything that you came into contact with within an inch on a 2-up takes d6 mortal wounds. So this is like a pretty big debuff to Megas for sure on the charge.
But
true. I think it makes sense because they're trying to get rid of mortal wounds a little bit more.
There definitely are. Yeah, especially when they're connected to abilities and stuff. So, and this is, oh, right, because it says keywords Rampage, right? So then, and by the way, earlier Darktron said, oh man, Sons of Behemoth I have mixed feelings about it. All the giants hitting on 4s. Yeah, I know how you feel because like I've had a few different factions in AOS 3 with a lot of hitting on 4s, and a lot of the stuff that I like is hitting on 4s. Even more is hitting on 4s in AOS 4. Is that why it's called AOS 4? It has nothing to do with it. It's just because it's like AOS 4.
AOS 4s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we might be onto something. But the nice thing is like I know how you feel, but it's like maybe if everyone's hitting on 4s, like it's just kind of better, like for the game overall, perhaps. A little more swingy. But anyway, I'm not sure. And then the next ability is once per turn, army, any combat phase, pick a friendly Mega Gargant or Gargant unit that has not used a Rampage ability this turn to use this ability. Then pick an enemy unit in combat, roll a dice. It's just roll a dice, by the way. So it is on it's the same. On a 3-up, the target cannot use commands for the rest of the turn.
So it's basically Roar functionally as it is now.
Yeah, but Roar used to be into the combat phase.
Correct. Sorry, you're right. This is to the end of the turn, so you wouldn't be able to do like power through. You wouldn't be able to do like anything else that's like end of the turn commands of any sort. So that's a good point.
But I mean, and like it's functionally less than it seems like when you realize that Battle Shock is gone. But it is, I don't know.
Yep. And another thing to note is that this can't be used if you decided to do mortal wounds earlier in the charge phase, just because they're both rampages, and this one says you can't have used a rampage ability yet by this point.
But that's on that Gargant, and the other one's in the charge phase, right?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying you can only do one of the two still. Like if you charge
really?
and
pick a friend.
This has not used the rampage ability this turn, not this phase.
But like you could do it on a different Gargant though, right?
You could. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay,
I know.
okay,
But I'm saying
I
that you
misunderstood what you
can't
were
do
saying.
both on the same Gargant.
Totally. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then the next one is kind of familiar. Colossal Slam. Declare, pick a friendly Mega Gargant that does not use the Rampage ability this turn. Use this ability, then pick an enemy monster or war machine within 1 inch of it to beat the target. Roll a dice on a 3-up. Remove the target from the battlefield and set it up again within 1 inch of this unit using this ability. Then inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. So it's just the body slam that we saw previously as well. And again, only one Gargant can use this, and they can't have done like the D3 mortal wounds thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll finish. So then this one. Actually, no. About that. The Colossal Slam one, the body slam that everyone calls the body slam, right? It's like one of the best things, like one of the best rampages they ever made, but simultaneously, it's also annoying because it calls for a player to touch another player's models and to move them. And
that's true.
And like, it's like, if you're new to the game, I would strongly recommend that you just tell the player who owns the model where exactly you want it. Feel free to be as precise as you want. You know what I mean? Like you want the base to be here and here or whatever, but don't just pick up someone's models because the rules told you it was okay. It can lead to bad things,
Yeah. Always ask permission to touch other people's models.
Yeah. I probably should have I could have been much more concise, I suppose. But,
No, it's okay. I totally understand. And then the last one, jump up and down, is yada, yada, yada. Pick a enemy infantry unit in combat, put it to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3-up. Roll a dice for each model in the target unit. If the unit is using this ability as a Gargant, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target for each 6. If it is a Mega Gargant, instead, inflict 1 mortal damage for each 5-up. So this is just like kind of a quasi-horde clear ability, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So if you're running into like a bunch of clan rats or something like that, you use this. And the only thing that I don't like is that it's on a 3-up, then you get to do this thing.
Yeah.
Because you have like a 1/3 chance of just doing nothing whatsoever. And you still technically have used a rampage.
Although, isn't that true of all of them?
It is. But
yeah.
I think that's kind of the problem is like previously Monstrous Rampages were like Roar is a 3-up because it's very powerful.
Right.
Stomp is a 2-up because it's like just do some damage.
Right.
Titanic Duel is just automatic and you just got it.
Yep.
And then Smash the Rebel was also a 3-up because it's pretty powerful. So it kind of like varied, whereas all of these are just 3-ups. So it kind of sucks that no matter what you decide to do, there's a 1/3 chance it just doesn't happen.
That's true. I think this one is the worst example of that. Because it's like you're making a roll and then you're making another roll to see like if it was actually going off. Because like you said, I think you said earlier, like you could roll a 3-up and then roll 0 5s, right? So it's kind of like the problem that they ran into with like Cruel Boys, where it was like roll this dice and then on a 4-up you roll. You know what I mean? Like you can roll another dice and then on a 4-up, this actually happens. And you're just like, God damn, guys. So yeah, I think this is probably the worst example of it out of any of them. Cause it's like a 3-up roar. Like I think we're mostly losing roar, right? So like giants just having roar is actually incredible. Like that's just strong, right? It's like, finest hour in Stormcast. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but we'll see. They showed us a lot more rules, so we can kind of move on to see what else they gave.
I do want to point out that people were saying in the chat like it's a big nerf. I think a lot just like in case you don't have other factions that have been previewed so far, a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people are feeling like their faction is much worse. So if everyone's worse, then we're all fine, probably.
Yeah, I think there's actually some hope in the rest of these previews for sure. Like,
yeah,
I don't even think their battle traits were necessarily bad. They got some interesting tools, but they did show us one of the detachments or the battle formations. Sorry,
Yep.
Taker Tribe, which is you get a once per battle in the deployment phase. You can pick a non-unique Sons of Behemoth hero, i.e., not King Broad, that does not have an artifact of power, and then you can just give it one. So you just get another free artifact of power, which is pretty cool. And then conveniently, they've shown us all of their artifacts of power, of which there are 6, which is pretty sweet.
Well, also, it's once per battle deployment phase, so you don't have to put this in your list.
Yeah.
You can see who you're up against, what you need, and then you could take the right thing. Like, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, having that option is always super nice, especially when you have the tools that are in these artifacts of power. So you've got the Amber Bone Totem, which for the rest of the turn, this can use a charge ability even if it used to run. So you get run and charge on this guy once per battle, which is pretty sweet. It's not even on like a 2-up or anything awful.
Right.
So maybe you see an army that you need to close the distance on a lot more. Then you've got the Glowy Lantern, which is just pick a manifestation lore. And then this unit can summon from that manifestation lore as if it had Wizard 1. So you get some like magic, which is pretty sweet. Maybe you see an army that's particularly weak to, I don't know, mortal wounds, or maybe there's a manifestation lore that's, really good at shutting one army down, and you say, I picked this one. Like, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
The Mantle of Tuscan Horns is once per battle in the combat phase. You can add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by Sons of Behemoth units wholly within 12 inches. Pretty dang good. Like a once per battle, just like big buff and a big bubble is pretty sweet.
That's awesome. I think that's what.
And we've seen that a lot of Sons of Behemoth players like to keep their giants together, so it makes sense for sure.
They move in herds.
Exactly. Do you want to do the other 3?
Sure. So you got extra calloused feet. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic, rend characteristic, and damage characteristic of this unit's Almighty Stomp or Almightier Stomp. You've got Glowy Shield of Protectiness. Wow. Each time, yeah. Passive. So effect, each time you make an automodified save roll of 6 for a combat attack that targets this unit, inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fight ability has been resolved. So
that's a really good one.
That's a really good one when you've got that many wounds. Or I'm assuming you're putting it on a Mega Gargant, obviously. But also, it's like the ones that I'm reading, by the way, none of them are once per battle. All the ones that you read are once per battle. All the ones that I read are not. And that's like, man, that's really freaking good.
Like the Glowy Shield of Protectiness, let's say you're going up against like an FEC army that's just, ghoul spam or something like that. And they're just like, I've got hundreds of attacks coming your way. And you're like, sounds good. You're going to take 1/6 of your damage back. Have fun with that. Like that is really, really rough.
I mean,
for
like
someone that's got like high volume of attacks.
Well, like you're taking more than that, right? Because it's mortal damage. So like ghouls traditionally are like 4s and 4s, right? Or I guess, but then it's
on the save
skips
roll,
the
so
save.
it still has to get through.
Yeah. I mean,
but still, like it's nice to be able to have that choice with the Taker Tribe.
For sure. Okay, and then King Slaughter Cowl. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this unit's melee weapons while this unit is in combat with an enemy hero. So it's just like,
yeah.
I don't know. You're kind of spoiled for choices here. I feel like if you're taking, like, if you go Taker Tribe, you try and get like another artifact if you can, and then you got like, and then you take Taker Tribe, so then you're getting another one, so you can like maybe rock out with 3.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
And then we get to see King Broad, who is looking pretty spicy. He's if you look at, so we see on his war scroll, it actually is almost the same. His wheel. So it's still 10-inch move.
Was he always
really
40
big.
Health?
He was always 40 health.
My God.
Yeah. He's always 40 health on a 4-up save. The only thing that's changed about his wheel is that instead of counting as 25, he counts as 10. Or sorry, instead of counting as 25, he counts as 20.
Okay.
But it doesn't bracket, right? Not that they bracketed a lot anyway.
No.
So still tons of wounds. Then you see the Obelisk of Torcrania previously was only 4 attacks. Now it's 6 attacks, 4s and 2s. Previously, it was 3s and 3s. I see them doing that quite a bit for like big units.
Right.
4s and 2s, run 2, 5 damage. So it's basically gone from 4 attacks, 3s and 3s to 6 attacks, 4s and 2s. So that's just a straight buff. And then when he has 15 or more damage points, It goes back to what his old war school was and has 4 attacks instead.
Well, also there's still all out attack. We have to remember that.
Yeah.
So you can put
exactly.
yourself on 3s, and now you're on 2s to wound. Like, whew.
Yeah. Unnated Foot says all out attack with finest hour was 2s and 2s. Sure, that's totally fair. That was a once per game thing, though. I would much rather have 2 more attacks always than the ability to be on 2s and 2s once, though. Like, because you can be on 3s and 2s most of the time with him.
Yeah.
If you're just all out attacking. And there's a lot more ways to buff. Traditionally, anyway, there's a lot more ways to buff to hit characteristic than there are to wound characteristic. Just to be able to have that always on 2s is really nice.
Well, and we just saw the, and we're assuming obviously you can't be more than +1 to hit, but like we did just see the artifact that, and granted it's once per game, but where you are +1 to hit in a giant ass bubble. So it's going to be 3s and 2s for like your whole army in that bubble, once per game. So anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
5
then he's got his Almighty Stomp, which I think is also a similar trade-off. It's 4s and 2s instead of 3s and 3s.
Okay.
I might be wrong about that actually.
I can't remember. I wanted to say it was 4s, but like you've definitely played them
it
a lot
was
more than I have.
it was 3s and 3s.
Oh, it was. Huh.
Otherwise it's the same, except it has an additional pip of rend against infantry. Whereas right now it's just rend 2 always.
3 rend against infantry. Like, jeez.
Yeah. Death Grip, I think, got just kind of a straight nerf. Well, not really. Like it's Death Grip was 3s and 2s before, now it's 4s and 2s.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only difference now is that it's anti-hero +1 rend. So getting rend 3 against a hero is quite nice. 4s and 2s is a little less nice. Broad also has a hero phase prayer, power of Behemoth. Make a chanting roll of D6. Pick one of the following effects. If the chanting roll was 10 plus, pick 2 instead. You have Shatter the Mountains, which is add 2 to the move characteristic of all of your dudes. Might of the Earth, which is heal D3 all of your dudes, and then Pummel all to dust, which is just increasing everyone's like main weapons rend by 1. This is really good because right now all of these are like once per game abilities. You chant the prayer, given it's on a 3-up and it's not a 5 like it is here.
Yeah.
But you can power it up over multiple turns, as we found out. Right now it's just once per game you can add 2 inches to the move. Once per game you can heal D3, and once per game you can add rend. Whereas if you really need it, you can just be doing this every time, like the same effect.
Yeah.
So having that choice, really, really nice. Creepers, straight buff. Like, actually, that's not true.
Okay.
No, that's not true at all. Right now, so it says this unit cannot be picked to be the target of enemy rampage abilities.
Mm-hmm.
How it currently works is a monster that's within 3 inches of broad. It's like on a 2-up can't do a monstrous action regardless of who it picks.
Wow.
So actually, maybe this is just a nerf. So it's not quite as good, but
I mean, like, it's more reliable that you won't be able to do it against him, but he's just not buffing his buddies. So it's maybe it's a matter of playstyle as well, I guess you could argue.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
wow.
That's totally fair. Then Son of Behemoth, which I think all of the Mega Gargants are going to get. Basically, they don't just instantly die from anything. You just allocate 6 damage points to it instead, and you don't get to make wards for them. And then Longshanks also is something you're going to see a lot too, where they can pass over models and parts of terrain features that are less than 4 inches tall. Interesting thing is it says you can just pass through, which to me says this can just happen for like charges, movement, piling in, that sort of stuff. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Whereas right now I think it just says like it's specific to move,
right,
retreat, like it calls out a specific couple.
Yeah.
It's not on the charge or anything like that.
Right. Huh. So
pretty good.
Alex said the one attack that never did anything in the first place, changing is a nothing burger of a nerf.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I think so. Like the big takeaways for this for me are like he either mostly stayed the same, maybe got slightly worse in some areas, and then got better in other areas. Like Torcrania was a big buff.
Right.
And then in addition, where we're seeing a lot of people just have A, be slower, B, do less damage, and C, just have abilities removed from them completely. I would say he's actually in quite a good spot right now.
I agree. Yeah. I like it.
So
Also, Unaided Foot said, Broad is better for sure, just a change for the others. No worries, though. He's still going to main giants. I like it. That's really what I like to hear, is people just like, this is fine. I'm still rocking with what I like, you know? Yeah. And so we got the Gatebreaker here, too. 10-inch move, 35 wounds, 4-up save, 20 control. He can throw a boulder at 18 inches, 3s and 2s, rend 3, 4 damage. God dang. I know it's only 1 attack, but that's fun. That's still really fun to me. And then he's got the Fort Crusha Flail still. 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 4 flat damage, anti-faction terrain. What a crazy... Like, I love that, by the way. I think that's so freaking sick. I mean, by the way, I think I've only seen faction terrain with a 4-up save so far. I can't think of any with a 3-up save. So that's basically just auto damaging faction terrain. I kind of wish that he also had like maybe anti-infantry or anti-something else. You know what I mean? Because the anti-faction terrain thing is a little bit specialized, but whatever, it's cool. I mean, it is called the Fort Crusha Flail, I suppose. And then the Almighty Stomp, 2 attacks, 4s, 2s, 2 rend, same thing. And the anti-hero.
Same thing as Broad.
Yeah, the Death Grip, exactly. And then mostly this everything else is, so like Son of Behemoth is the same, right? Yeah, and the Longshanks is the same. And battle damage is the same. And then he also has Pulverizing Strike, pick a unit in combat with it. This unit can make a pile-in move, then roll a dice on a 4-up, inflict 4d6 mortal damage on the target. So
this is the same as what he already has, where he can replace his attack with a hillbilly
does
lizard,
it say
basically.
He needs to replace it here?
Yeah, because it has the fight keyword.
Oh,
This is like an ability system sort of thing where like in the attack sequence in the new rules it says like that you can use a fight ability, and then like the universal fight ability is you just roll your melee attacks.
I see.
But this fight ability is that you roll 46 mortal damage instead. Yeah.
I mean, wait, but this is on the Gatebreaker though.
Yeah, it always was.
Oh, was it? I thought it was on the Monster Killer guy.
Nope.
Crazy. Okay.
Yep.
Well, what does the big hammer guy do then?
The Kraken Eater?
Yeah, no, not the Kraken Eater. The new guy who comes in the new kit with the giant hammer.
I don't remember who that is. Is it the War Stomper?
No. It is
Oh, Beast Smasher.
Beast Smasher. That's it.
I don't know. No one really uses him.
Alex used him because he was cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. So then we got Smash Down. Pick a terrain feature within 3 inches of this unit to be the target. If the target is a faction terrain, inflict D3 plus 3 mortal damage on it. Then roll a D3 for each non-monster unit, friendly or enemy within 3 inches. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on that unit equal to the roll. So that's pretty fun. But like, This is in the combat phase as well, so you couldn't do both of those things then.
I don't think so. I mean, you could, yeah, because the sorry, my dog's being a goblin behind me.
Oh, because it doesn't have the fight keyword?
Yeah, pulverizing strike is different.
Right.
You could do both of them. So Smash Down is anytime you have like a combat phase ability that's resolved at the start of the combat phase. So the active player resolves all of their start of the combat phase abilities.
Right.
Then the other player resolves all of theirs. Then you alternate doing fight abilities, basically. So you could do Smash Down for sure.
I see. Huh.
Yeah.
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's thematic. I like it.
It's very thematic. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Like, I feel like I have to roll that 4-up every time, you know?
Yeah.
Just like 46. It's like, it's just too much fun, man. It's basically a blizzard on a 4-up.
It is a blizzard.
Yeah.
No downside.
Yeah. No downside. Yeah. It's Blizzard without the bad stuff.
Yep. And then going down, we've got the War Stomper, which the wheel is the same as the Gatebreaker and pretty much unchanged. Then it's got the Titanic Boulder Club, which is 4 attacks, 4s, 2s, run 2, 2 damage. There's an ability that changes. Actually, I'm just going to say the ability right now. It's if all of the attacks made with this unit's Titanic Boulder Club target the same enemy unit, for every 5 models in the target unit, add 2 to its attack's characteristic for the rest of the phase. So the interesting thing is that it doesn't have an upper limit anymore.
Right.
Whereas previously it capped at 10, but it's nerfed in another way in that you have to target the same unit with it. Whereas right now it's just like add up all of the models around you, and if there's any monsters, you get more.
This is so much better though. It's such it's like kind of a quality of life change in as well.
Yeah, I think so. And then so if you're targeting a unit that has 20 models in it, that's math. No, sorry, you only need to target a unit that has 15 models in it to get up to 10 attacks.
Right.
Which is pretty spicy.
So every 5 models in the unit, add 2.
Yep.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So, and then he's got battle damage that goes down to 3, so just 1 less, and control characteristic of 10. He's the son of Behemoth. He's got long shanks. The Horror Body is a familiar rule where he doesn't have to pile in to do it anymore, but so it's just pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. And as we know, the combat phase ability has to be at the start of the combat phase. Roll a dice. If the roll is at least double the target's health characteristic, 1 model in that unit is slain, and you can pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches of this unit. Inflict an amount of mortal damage on that unit equal to the target's health characteristic.
That's crazy.
So again, this is a sort of buff, sort of nerf, where it just says 1 model in that unit is slain, whereas right now you pick the model. So you could say, I pick the champion, and then I kill him, and then I throw him away. Whereas if it just says 1 model in that unit is slain, I'm interpreting it as the owning player would be able to choose which one it is.
Honestly, it's another quality of life thing, but it kind of has to work this way because of the way we inflict damage and stuff now too.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you could break someone out of coherency and then it just went immediately, that would be super, super crazy. So I understand why they did that. Yeah. And then the kind of buff part of it is that whipping the model at another unit isn't on a 4-up anymore, whereas currently it is. So that's pretty nice.
So it's no longer another roll into a roll, which everyone hates.
Yeah, exactly. And then one thing I just kind of want to point out, just we saw the artifacts. One of them was the extra calloused feet, which is add 1 to the attacks, rend, and damage characteristic of stomps or almightier stomps. Right. War Stomper has 4 attacks with almightier stomp, so that would go to 5 attacks. Yeah. So if he had that artifact, it would be 5 attacks, 4s, 2s, rend 3 with an additional rend against infantry. So rend 4 against infantry, and then D3 plus 1 damage each. So it's just
my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's pretty wow.
If you're gonna take that artifact, you know who it's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Super
or else
cool.
Don't bother.
And it's also just fun. It's just this War Stomper's got calloused feet and he's gonna stomp you good. It's a lot of fun.
I remember I think it's a current artifact. I know it's different in its, but I think it's the same name. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex.
Yeah.
And then we got the Man Crusher Gargant. These little goofy little naked babies, or not little, big, but just smaller. You know what I mean? 8-inch move, 12 health, 5-up save, 10 control, throwing rocks, 12 inches, 1 attack. Hits on 5s though, wounds on 2s, rend 2, D3 damage. Massive club, 4 attacks, 4s, 2s, 1 rend, 2 damage. Edbutt, 1 attack, 4s, 2s, 2 rend, 4 damage. Mighty kick, 4s, 2s, 2 rend, D3 damage. And passive, keep up. While this unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Mega Gargant, this unit can use charge abilities even if it used a run ability in the same turn. That's really cool and fun, and it helps keep... It's another quality of life change, frankly. And then you got once per turn, stuff them in me bag. Yeah, there's so much wrong with that. Pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice. If that is at least double their health characteristic, 1 model... and the unit is slain. So
so those 2 abilities are effectively the same as what we have now for the Man Crushers, except again with the stuff in me bag. It's just one model and the target unit is slain. It's not you picking one.
Right.
And then I would say like the attacks was just straight up buffed, just because the massive club was bracketing down to just one attack when you had taken like 10 wounds or something like that, whereas you don't bracket at all anymore, which is pretty nice. The throw-in rocks was definitely a nerf, hitting on 5s and then going from 18 to 12-inch range, but no one relied on those anyway, so I don't. Yeah.
Alex said exactly what I was going to say. Man Crushers need a new model more than a new War Scroll. It's so true. And like, and Darktron said Baby Giants are useless. I never used it. That's the reason not to use them is because they're just kind of derpy looking. Like if they get a new like model, then like this whole army becomes pretty interesting, to be honest.
Man Crushers also they see frequent use in King Broad Stomp, like competitive lists, just because usually you take like 3 megas and 4 baby gargants, and the reason for that is because it makes Surround and Destroy easier, makes Overshadow easier, and then it's just like more models on the board to do more things, and it's nice to have like a 10 control score dude just like walking around essentially. So sometimes it's nice to have a little more like variance in the direction you can go. So
that's true.
I wouldn't say they're useless.
It really, to me, it's just the model. Honestly, like a lot of it's just the face, Like, anyway, I'm sure some people like them. They've been around for a decent amount of time, so they do have like that kind of classic GW look, if that's a thing for you. But yeah, and we'll just skip over the spearhead, right? Because otherwise we're never going to finish. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Next is Nurgle. Nurgle tried to keep me down last week, and I must say he did an excellent job. That was one of the worst colds I've ever had in my whole life. It was brutal. I don't know why, Carson, and I probably said this before. Nurgle feels like a faction for you. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I don't know. You're not the only person that's told me that.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm kind of glad for that. But by the way, I just want to point out that you did say that they have the coolest. Greater Demons.
Yeah. If I was going to play like a true
Pantheon,
Pantheon army, it probably would be Nurgle out of all of them. Oh, maybe it would be. No, it'd probably be Nurgle.
Were you going to say Slaves to Darkness?
No, Slanesh. Slanesh.
What do you mean? God, no. You own the army.
I know. And knowing what I know now, God, I hope they change Slaves to Darkness to the better. Just make them interesting. I don't care if they're bad. Just make them interesting.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Nurgle would be interesting. But chances are I'll probably pick up a Skaven army sometime in the near future, I think. Yeah.
I was like... after you won the box and you were kind of saying that to me, I was just like, well, what about this? You need to get this and don't forget this. And I've started like trying to like plan it out for you. And you're just like, calm down. But I didn't calm down. Bro. I didn't. Anyway. So battle traits, once per, by the way, they only got 3. Didn't they say that everyone's going to get 4?
I'm starting to feel like I've either been gaslit or that just never happened.
Maybe.
Or they said that everyone gets 4 battle formations and everyone's like 4 battle traits. Sounds good.
Maybe some kind of Mandela effect.
Because they've broken this several times now. Like,
right.
Well, yeah. Never 4 actually.
Giants had 5.
Yeah,
exactly. But like they're also their things are like you can only do one of them, so it's not like you get them all. Anyway, yeah. It's whatever. Okay. Once per turn, army, end of any turn, pick one of the following effects. Pick an enemy unit that is in combat with Maggotkin and has the diseased keyword. Pick a diseased enemy unit to be the target. Each other enemy unit within the target's combat range has the diseased keyword. If all enemy units on the battlefield have the diseased keyword, this is battlefield, by the way, inflict 1 mortal damage on each of them. So that's kind of interesting. It seems like you want to just tag everyone in combat eventually and just get them all diseased, And then passive desperate remedies. If a diseased enemy unit used an ability that would heal or return slain models to it. Instead of healing or returning slain models to it, that unit no longer has the disease keyword. So it's telling you how to, like, again, we've got one in here that this is for the enemy. Like, if this didn't exist, it would be Nurgle would be stronger, right? Because there'd be no way of getting rid of disease.
That's true. I mean, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. What this says is it's mandatory to get rid of disease before you heal.
That's true.
Which is very, because it's not even like you heal one and it clears your disease and you continue to heal more. Like, if you heal D6 and you roll a 6, congratulations, you're just not diseased anymore, and that's it.
Yes, that's true.
Pretty brutal, actually.
That's true, but it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. But it is also for the enemy, right? Like, if you do, like, if Sylvaneth still have that thing where they get to heal one thing at the end, then it's just like, oh yeah, this whole army doesn't have disease anymore, by the way. And then we'll probably do a bunch of healing. Anyway, once per turn, army, end of any turn, roll a d3 for each diseased unit. On a 2-up, inflict an amount of mortal damage on that unit equal to the roll. So it's a d3. So again, you're either doing 2 mortal wounds or 3 mortal wounds on a 3-up. Because of how d3s work. Okay, so I do think that it's not as strong as it was before, but once again, I can see someone not thinking that, right? But like, it's just a huge quality of life change, because like if you roll, like the maximum amount you can get is now much less, right? But they were on 4s before. So like if you could have up to 7 disease points on each unit, right? So you could theoretically do 7 mortal wounds to each unit, right? But now it's much more sure that you're going to get it, because like if you've got 3 or 4 disease points on them, you know, you can just get nothing, right? So
yeah, I don't necessarily think it's worse now, just because it's always 2 or 3, like you said. There's other things,
but you also have to be in combat. You can't shoot at them.
Well, I'm sure there's other ways to apply.
That's true. I mean, I guess I'm just looking at it from here, from the outset. And
yeah, I feel like this is just simpler. Where it's like, you
just
have a token. Are you diseased or are you not?
That's my point, though, was that it, like, even though like my original thing, it was like, yeah, like I think it's maybe not quite as strong, but it's a huge quality of life change once again for everyone. It's no longer Age of Bookkeeping. I think that's the main thing, right? Funny enough, it still is Age of Bookkeeping with FEC. That was the one thing. But this one, it was kind of like the meme one where it was like, you know, that's where the whole thing started, Age of Bookkeeping, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, I guess we'll move on to down below. Ludivicus says, Git's got 1 battle trait. Just saying. Oof.
BT brings up something interesting where he says, I don't think we've seen all of the battle traits, just like we haven't seen all the war scrolls or sub-faction abilities.
Really?
That's interesting. I don't know if I know if that's true, but I hope so. That would be cool.
I really hope that that's true. And I'm just gonna say, like, again, I want to reiterate, I hope you're right. I just don't think you're right, unfortunately. I think, because like if they didn't show it, then we'd kind of be like, wait, what? Like, I thought you were giving it all to us. You know, that's good news. You know, like, thank you, I guess, but you really could have revealed these before and stopped everyone from freaking out. But anyway, Taliban of Nurgle. Effect from the second battle round onwards, add 1 to the amount of mortal damage inflicted, if any, by the racked with disease ability. So
now you're always doing 3 or 4 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Which is pretty dang good.
Yep. On a 3-up. Yeah.
Yeah, because on average, because you'd be getting up to 7 disease points usually. Also, is there noise in my background? Just wanted to check.
I don't hear anything.
Okay, awesome.
You're getting like up to 7 disease points, and then on average it's like 3 or 4 mortal wounds. That's at max disease.
Yeah.
Whereas at this point, it's like if you're diseased, you're just always getting. I guess there's a 1/3 chance you get nothing.
Yeah.
But then 3 or 4 is like just the standard if you're diseased, which is pretty.
But it's just,
extremely
it's
good.
so much faster too. It's just like that's the best part about it. It's no longer like putting little dice next to stuff. I mean, I guess you could put little. You might need to put little tokens and whatnot to see if they're diseased or not. But I don't know.
Yeah, but also like you got to think. Previously, you get up to 7 disease.
Yeah.
You roll all the dice, and maybe let's say you take 7 mortal wounds. You're like, ouch, that hurt a lot. It resets you back to 1, and then maximum you can take is 1. And if you kill whatever you're in combat with, and you just can't get more disease after that.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's like you're diseased forever unless you can heal,
Unless you can heal. Yeah.
and then you're just always taking 3 or 4 mortal wounds. So it's just way more consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see what you mean. Although you do have to take Taliban of Nurgle. It should probably be pointed out that that's like your subfaction. But
still 2 or 3.
Seems good.
It's every turn.
Well, and
it's not every battle round.
Well, no, and like Taliban 2 is very like this seems like what I would take. Like I'm sure there will be other ones, but yeah. Like leaning into your battle trait seems like a good idea. And then we got Lore of Malignance, Fleshy Abundance. Pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle wizard to cast a spell. Pick a friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle unit wholly within 12 inches. Then make a casting roll 2d6. You need a 7, by the way. If the target unit is damaged, heal d3. If the target is not damaged, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks that target that unit until the start of your next turn. My goodness. That's really good. So now that's if you have basically if you have taken damage and you have a dice next to it. But what if it's Plague Bearers and they've got 1 guy left? You don't heal, right? Have we seen what the heal keyword does? Can it bring units or models back?
I don't remember at this time. I don't think it does, but
right.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Also, the spell, by the way, is unlimited. So every caster can cast this spell.
In fact, I think you can't bring models back with heal, because if I recall correctly, rally is you can either choose to bring models back with the wounds characteristic equal to however many you roll, or heal X, where X is the number you decide to allocate to heal.
Right.
So if that were the case, then you would just say heal X.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yep, and then
Braden pointed that out too in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. Every army can heal and potentially be getting rid of disease. So that is a thing, but still, it's pretty scary. Then we got the Great Unclean One.
Excellent.
It's 20 wounds.
Beefy boy.
Went up to it went up to a 6-inch move, and I think it was 4 before. So we got faster.
I mean, it should be moving 6 inches. The thing is 40 or 50 feet high or something like that in the game, right?
Yeah. No, it. Just looking at its current war scroll, it was a 18 wounds, so it went up 2 wounds, and it was a 4-inch move, so it went up 2 inches move, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
to get that much more. It's 5 control. It's got a shooting attack, Noxious Bile, where it's D3 plus 3 attacks, which is just strictly better than what it currently is at D6.
For sure.
7-inch range, 3s, 2s, 2 rend, 2 damage, and it can shoot in combat. The rend went down a little bit, and then the 2 wound just doesn't bracket anymore, which it currently does. So that's just straight buff, I think, at that point. Melee weapons, you get the Colossal Blight weapons, 4 attacks, 3s, 2 rend, 2, 4 damage. And then it brackets down to 3. And then the Host of Nurglings, which is just a bunch of attacks where you've got crit auto wounds, and it's 10 attacks on 5s and 5s, no rend, 1 damage. So pretty slappy.
Yeah.
It's got the once per turn army wide in your movement phase, Locust of Nurgle. You can pick friendly Maggotkin of Nurgle demon units that started the battle with 3 or more models and that have been destroyed to be the target.
Roll a dice on a 4-up, set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit, rounding up wholly within 12 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches small on the unit. So that's your recursion for this army, basically. And what's interesting is it doesn't cost CP like it does in Stormcast or Skaven. It's just on a 4-up.
Right.
And it is in your movement phase. So you're probably going to get like 4 kicks at this can, probably. Yep. And then on average, you're getting like probably 2 units back.
Yeah.
So it's pretty spicy. We've got the once per turn army-wide ability at the end of any turn. You declare that if this unit is damaged, you can pick up the 3 enemy units in combat with it. Roll a d3 for each on a 2-up, inflict an amount of moral damage equal to the roll. So, it's kind of cool that a rampage is in the end of the turn too, instead of in combat.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's very thematic too. Like, it's something I've actually thought about while listening to like novels and stuff like that. Like, I remember I listened to, I think it was like Nagash the Undying King or something like that, and they're fighting Nurgle in it. And I was just thinking, like, if you punched Nurgle or like even hit them, like cut them with a knife or something like that, like they're shooting stuff back at you, surely. Like, you'd think that would F you up, you know? Yep. So yeah, I think this is dope.
Does.
It does, as it turns out.
Yeah. And then he's got his last ability, which is a spell, Plague Wind, which is casting value 7. You declare and you pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches, make a casting roll 2d6, and if it goes off, that target now has the disease keyword. So bada bing, bada boom.
You can hand it out.
There's your disease.
Yep.
Important things to note on the keywords. Still has a 5-up ward. He's a double casting wizard, and he's a hero, and he's a monster.
Yep.
So,
I'm totally in agreement with everyone in the chat who said they just love the new, like Ludivicus was saying, I love the new Guo and his different role. Yeah, and Dominic said
he's like a big, like, buff/debuff piece, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what he should be. And he still slaps. Like,
yeah,
4 attacks, 3s and 2s, 2 ran 4 freaking damage. Like, that's
easily getting on 2s and 2s.
Actually,
right?
Here's a question. I meant to ask this at the start. Here's a question for the people who play Nurgle. Is like, because I remember when he came out, the Great Unclean One was like Great Unclean One with X, Great Unclean One with Y. Has it been amalgamated into one War Scroll, right? So you're gonna have I almost called him Ludivicus. I almost called him Ludivicus. It's what's his name? The actual, like, the named character.
The Glockkin?
No. The Glockkin is not a great. What's that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
There's a named character, Rodigus. That's what it is. I almost had to look at my phone. So there's going to be Rodigus, obviously, right? And then is it just like a Great Unclean One? Like, I'm guessing, right? Made into one weapon. Cool. That's so great. Like, that, again, this is a quality of life change where it's just like, I can just build this thing however I want. I remember Rodigus. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the time delay. So, like, that's so awesome though, because, like, I know, like, our buddy Jason, he's super into Nurgle, right? And he did like a conversion on his guy that was supposed to be kind of like this old art piece, but then at the same time, it was so he could just use whatever weapon he wanted to equip it with, and he didn't need to stress out about it. But he had to do a conversion to make that happen. And now it's like, okay, I can make each Great Unclean One, and I could just equip them with whatever I think looks cool, and then that adds variety. Anyway, I love that they're doing this. I think it's so much better, and it's easier to balance too, by the way. Yeah, this is great. The Rain Father. Yeah.
I love what they did with the Great Unclean One. Like, it's just a huge, scary model that you really want to take care of as soon as you possibly can. This is just going to be like handing out debuffs. He's going to slap you pretty hard if you get close, and he's going to be the source of recursion for a Nurgle army.
Right.
Or a source. We don't actually know if there's going to be more at some point in the future. So
that's true. And I mean, like with these awesome models, Carson. Just saying.
I mean, I would love it if we could get to a point where we had like channel armies.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah.
I'd definitely play them if we had them. But
honestly, like for a long time, I really kind of disliked Nurgle, but somehow they've grown on me like some kind of sore or rash. You know.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It's true.
Yeah. So next up, we've got the Sloppy Bile Piper, which
one of the all-time great names and models.
Fantastic names for the abilities too.
Yep.
Sloppy Bile Piper. You don't really want to pay attention to its like wheel because it's always been kind of a buff piece.
Right.
Still 4-inch move, 5-up save, 2 control, 5 health. Still has a 5-up ward. The attacks are 3 attacks, 4 is 3s, run 1 damage 2. But then it's got the once per turn army wide in any combat phase Jolly Gut Pipes, which are pretty familiar. It's got basically you can like pick a visible friendly Nurgle demon within 12 inches or wholly within 12 inches, and then pick one of the effects, which is, or sorry, on a 2-up you pick one of the effects to apply rest of the turn. One of them is just +1 to wound. One of them is no ward rolls can be made against damage points inflicted by that unit's combat attacks, which is good God, that's scary. And then my favorite, love is like a ripe fart. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units that target that unit, which we see in the current rules now.
Yeah.
Everyone has been like hyper fixated on the ward rolls one,
Yeah.
which is terrifying, of course.
Mm-hmm.
If you go against something like a mirror match or something, it's like shutting off somebody's wards is incredibly good.
Incredible.
So it's that's super scary.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have at least one of these guys, I think. Oh, and something else that we've noticed, a lot of us have picked up on, is it looks like summoning is gone as we know it.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, they confirmed that.
They confirmed that. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Which I personally prefer that's the case.
You prefer the new way or the old way?
I prefer the new way.
Okay,
because,
good.
I think
I was gonna say
it just kind of sucks for like if someone gets into an army like Tzeentch or Nurgle or something like that. Like it's like, okay, you got to buy your army, and then you have to buy like 50% more of your army to just have to be able to summon. Exactly. And it was just such an unrealistic thing to expect of someone who's going to a tournament, especially like a new player. And it's just kind of a feel bad moment for both sides, because on the person who's playing its side, you know that every war scroll in your army is costed with the kind of like expectation that they could be summoned in at some point.
Yep.
And then on the opponent's side, it sucks when you end a game and someone has like 2,500 points worth of models on the battlefield. You're like, why do you get to play with more than I do?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Kind of annoying.
It's funny because like even like I'm not playing in tournament, but I used to go down to my local store. This is Seraphon in ageofsigmar 1 or 2.0. 1 and 2 actually. I think there was different summoning, and I hated it. We had summoning from like I think it was a GHB thing for Seraphon in 1.0, and like I had to break down all these extra models, like even just down to the store. I hated that, and like when you say like I remember Slaanesh in 2.0 too, and it was just like, you're just it's exactly what you said. It's like I'm fighting with 2,000 points against people who have like 2,500, 3,000 points. Like I forget what the record was, but it was almost double their army at one point for Slaanesh in 2.0. And that just feels bad. Actually, like funny kind of tangential side thing. Over the weekend, we finally got the announcement of what the Street Fighter characters that are coming for season 2 or whatever. And the one of the rumored characters is called Elena. She's this character from Street Fighter 3, and she could heal herself in Street Fighter 4, so she takes damage, she builds up an ultra meter, and then her ultra is she heals herself. So it's like the same thing. It's like I'm fighting with 1,000 points of health, and you're fighting with like more than that as soon as you knock me down. And it's just kind of NPE. But the funny thing is about this is it's NPE for. He would be quiet. I saw that bingo. But it's like NPE for both people when it comes to summoning, because like I don't know anyone who really likes bringing a crap ton of extra models, and just working with that, So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I know some people who do enjoy like how summoning currently is in third, but
They're sadists.
I think they are sadists and they should be feared.
Yep.
To be honest,
Yep.
they're dangerous to society, and I think if you know one of those people, then run.
Yep. Run and try and have them committed against their will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving right
Harbinger
along.
of Decay.
Yep. 8-inch move,
wanna-
7 health, 3 up save, 2 control, 3 attacks with the scythe, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 3 damage, crit mortal. And then the Demon's Mount is 2 attacks, 5s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. The Knell of Doom is once per battle. In the enemy hero phase, pick up to 3 enemy units within 24 inches of this unit. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 inch from the move characteristic of each model, and subtract 1 from the run and charge rolls for each target. That's 24 inches. That's a seriously good ability. I know it's once per battle, but like, man, like you usually know which one it is, like which turn it is to use that, right? And then you've got your hero phase. Pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches. Make a chanting roll of D6. You're looking for a 4 here. Subtract twice the current battle round number of the target's control score for the rest of the turn. If this chanting roll is 10 up, this ability affects all enemy units within 12 inches. Like this is such a blue deck crazy ability. Like what an interesting place they're kind of playing in here. You know what I mean? Like we all knew it was coming. We all knew they're going to start messing with control because it's part of the War Scroll now. But like, I'm surprised they did it this early and in this interesting a way from the beginning in an index.
Yeah, I really like what they're doing with Nurgle, like what we've seen so far.
Me too.
It's very interesting, very on brand, and yeah, just super cool. I wouldn't be surprised if Nurgle is going to be pretty powerful at the start of 4th as well.
I
just
agree.
Based on all of this stuff. Like anytime, and it's not even necessarily because it's like overpowered, but anytime you have like a really skilled player that has a blue deck style play, it's going to be really difficult for like 90% of the players to deal with.
It's true.
Just because they have to be just as good, if not better than them, at knowing their own army.
Also, they're like the toughest. They're supposed to be like the toughest army. The whole army has like a 5-up ward, ostensibly.
Yeah.
And that alone is a very powerful ability. Like if you can't kill me, then it's very hard to win. Yeah. And I really like that, like, because this new model is so freaking awesome. I'm glad that they gave something cool to him. And then we got Blight Kings.
Yep.
3
Blight
health.
Kings are...
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No. Well, anyway, sorry. The Blight Kings are the 3 health, 4-inch move, 1 control, and a 3-up save. I think they went, if I'm not mistaken, down from 4 health, but they also went down from a 4-up save.
Yes.
So probably just way tougher now, I think.
Yeah.
I would much rather subtract like 1 health for a 4-up save. That's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
Blighted weapons, 4 attacks, 3s, run 1 damage. So just 20 attacks per unit, so probably 21 if they have a champion. And then add 3 to this unit's control score while each model on this unit is contesting an objective that you control. So basically, you would go to an objective, take it, and then the next turn after that, they would have +3 control score, which is pretty spicy.
No kidding.
Pretty good. So it just seems like these guys are like an anvil that are going to be really hard to move off of anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got a musician, which just adds 1 to their rally rolls, or like gives them an extra dice. And then they've got a standard bearer, which adds 1 to their control score. Still got a 5-up ward, champion, all that sort of stuff. So
what's interesting too is that like because of the bloated bulk ability, it feels like they're trying to encourage people to take them in minimum sized units. So then that way they're easier to fit all on the objective. You know, because like if you have 2 units of 5 instead of a unit of 10, then you can fit both of them. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can have one of them on there and then they're worth 3. And then if you can't fit everyone on there, then you know what I mean? Like you're not losing out as much.
Yeah, it'll definitely be harder to get them all on with the new objective sizes.
Yeah.
Like in 3rd,
40
you have a
too.
diameter of 12 inches, whereas in 4th, you're going to have a diameter of 7.57. which is like almost half as much essentially.
Right.
So pretty interesting. Definitely the least interesting war scroll we've seen, but they're also just they're a standard unit. You know, they're
For sure.
What do you want, huh?
Indeed. I just want to point out too that I don't think I've ever noticed the guy on the right there with his like weird like tremor tentacle monster and then the Nurgling popping out of his stomach. That's horrifying, but I also love it very much. I think it's really cool.
I also like that they picked the two dudes who are like their torsos are almost completely naked
I know.
to represent the war scroll that they decided to give a better save.
Some degenerate at GW.
Yeah. They're just feeling that wind.
Oh, and
the plague wind.
The plague wind, which means fart, right? We didn't cover this on the other one, but the spearhead box, it looks like it's going to be two fly guys, a box of Blight Kings.
That's the current Vanguard.
Right, but like, oh, I guess, yeah, that's true. Okay, never mind. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but I've been enjoying the new paint jobs they've been doing on a lot of them. Like the Stormcast one, like there's been a bunch of them in there, and I probably should have scrolled down for, or does Giants have one?
It's just Man Crushers, I think.
Oh, ugh.
Yeah.
That's an insult to everyone.
Yeah.
Moving right along. So now we're on to the best faction that we're going to see tonight. By far. I saved Ogres for last for you, you know, even though it goes against my better judgment. So Deepkin's battle traits, it's mostly the same. We're just losing some, but like, it's fine. You'll see later on that they're still kind of there. And some of them are kind of better in a way. Anyway, the only thing that like, this is kind of weird is so now they basically have the Stormcast thing. So pick a friendly regiment led by an Idoneth Deepkin hero. No units in that regiment can have already been deployed. Set up those units in reserve. They now have been deployed. That's kind of interesting. And it's done in a slightly different way. And then in the movement phase, of course, you have the other half of that. Oh yeah, this is 3 as well. But I guess there's anyway. Pick a friendly Idoneth Deepkin unit that is traveling the Ether Sea to use this ability. Effects set up that unit wholly within 9 inches of a battlefield edge, which is annoying. It's kind of basically the Soul Scryer thing. And then more than 9 inches from all enemy units. That's the boring part over with. We're getting the tides back. Not too different. So low tide is what you start off with. Normally, obviously, we're assuming you can flip the tides, but we'll see. For the rest of the battle round, subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks that target this unit, and subtract 1 from hit rolls for combat attacks that target this unit if it did not use any charge abilities this turn. I think this is better than adding 1 to your save. It also is kind of a little bit more thematic because, you know, it's supposed to be like a misty sea, so it's hard to see things. But also, like, theoretically, we have ways of making our save better anyway. So -1 to hit, especially with things hitting on 4s a lot now, like it might be really good. It's hard to say. Then Flood Tide is the same, but it's better. It says for the rest of the battle round, this unit can use a run ability and still shoot and or charge later in the turn. Right now, it's just shoot or charge in the same turn. So this is like just a straight up buff. And then High Tide is for the rest of the battle round. This unit has strike first. This is pretty much the same, only it's not tied to like start or end of the turn or whatever else. That was kind of a whole big mess for AOS 2. And then Ebb Tide for the rest of the battle round. This unit can retreat, use the retreat ability, and still shoot and or charge. So again, it's the same thing as before, only it's better because you get both. And in addition, normal damage is inflicted on this unit by retreat abilities. So this is adding an extra thing on. which is really cool because it gets around one of the mechanics of the game, which is very interesting. Yeah. And then we got Lore of the Deep. This is also significantly better, by the way. Steed of Tides goes off on a 6. Pick a friendly Deepkin wizard to cast the spell, blah, blah, blah. Pick a friendly... sorry. Idoneth unit wholly within 12 inches. So this is definitely shorter, but it is pick a unit. It used to be a hero only that you could teleport. And so being able to teleport whole units is crazy. Like, this is very exciting. And it's also thematic. Like, it's actually like much more lore appropriate. Them kind of like popping in and out of the ether sea all around you. Remove the target from the battlefield, set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So this is also, there's no like range on that. It's just from where they start. So that's nice. It used to be, I think you had to move them within 24 inches before. Actually, maybe it's just a straight buff. I can't remember. Now I can't remember if they had to be closer or not. Or, sorry, if they could be further away or not. But whatever. This is the new one. It's way better just because you don't have to only pick heroes. Like what were you using it on before? Like, you're mostly using it on like smaller heroes to move them around the battlefield. You're not like your big hammers, other than the king, the Smash King, is... like, it's not that useful. And then the Smash King, he's just moving like 14 inches, possibly running and charging. Like, he doesn't need that for the most part. So yeah, this is a lot better. And then we got the Eidolon of Mathlin, Aspect of the Sea. 12 health, same as now. 10-inch move, a little bit shorter. 3-up save, 5 control. Blast of Abyssal Energy. It has more control now because it's not a monster. Energy, so 12-inch range, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, 2 rend, D3 damage. It used to be, right now it's D3 attacks. So this is better overall. I think it's 15 inches, but who cares? Like, I'll take this all day long because I don't think I've ever even rolled a 3-up. I don't think I've ever even had 2 attacks. Like, to my memory, I always roll a 1 or a 2. It's always 1 freaking attack, right? Anyway. The Side Trident is a little disappointing. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, 1 rend, D3 damage. No ability on there. He's got like this honking freaking whatever. Anyway, and 6 attacks on the fishies, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Of course, it's a companion, and then you add 1 to casting rolls for this unit. That's good. And then the Tsunami of Terror is pick up to 3 different visible enemy units. Right now, it's D3. And you can stack them. That might have been removed in like a more recent FAQ. I can't remember. But anyway, now it's 3 different units, 12 inches. It's an 8, but it's subtract 1 from save rolls for combat attacks that target those units until the start of the next turn. So before you could stack it, especially at the start of AOS 3, that was a big thing. An 8 is not easy, but I think it's currently a 7, but because of the +1 to the casting, right? Now it becomes a 7. Essentially, it's what you need on the dice. So in a way, it's kind of stronger because you're casting a little bit higher. You know what I mean? And then Vengeful Waves. If this unit has not charged this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3-up. The target cannot use commands for the rest of the turn. So it's basically like a roar. Actually, there's I can't see any discernible difference to a roar. And then Tranquility of the Abyss. Ignore negative modifiers. Sorry.
The one difference is that you have to pick a unit that is... this unit has to have not charged to use it.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. Yes, absolutely. I did notice that, but I didn't... if this unit has not charged, right? Not if it is charged, right? I noticed that when I read it when it first came out, but then I totally forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's not as good. It's much more defensive.
Rampage.
Yeah. I'm hoping that the aspect of the storm is better this turn, but we'll see. They always do that. And then Tranquility of the Abyss. Ignore negative modifiers to control scores of friendly Idoneth Deepkin units while they are wholly within 12 inches of this unit. You used to give a bravery of 10 to everyone I think it was an 18-inch bubble. This is interesting, and it kind of like counters some of the Nurgle stuff, you know, with controlling your ability scores. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that it's like maybe they're not doing that. So maybe this is totally useless, or maybe it's really powerful. It's hard to say how much of that's going to be in the game.
It's only negative. For some reason I thought it was negative and positive, and I was like, why would they do that?
Yeah. That sounds like something they would do with Skaven, but not this time. Yeah, I don't know. I think it all just like we just don't know how much of that is in the game of controlling the control scores of people's units. So like if there's a lot of that, then this might become a very vital unit. But if you're never seeing anyone do that ever, then it becomes kind of a, you know, sort of useless ability. But and then you've got the Tidecaster, 5 health, 6 movement, 5 up save, 2 control, lost the ward save, and 3 attacks on the staff. No one cares. It's a wizard. 3s, 4s, 1 rend, D3 damage. 2 attacks, 4s, no rend, 1 damage. By the way, that is hilariously sad. 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Like, my God. Anyway, but you're kind of taking it. So she is a wizard, obviously, but you're kind of taking it for the ritual here. Master of the Ether Sea. Make an Isharan ritual roll of D6. On a 3-up, pick one of the following effects to apply until the start of your next turn. Creepy Mist. Friendly Idoneth Deepkin units cannot be targeted by shooting attacks unless the attacking model is within 12 inches. So basically you get gritting blades for your whole army if you make a 3-up. Right? This is what I was talking about earlier. We lost Forgotten Nightmares, but like I feel like this might be kind of better in a lot of ways because, like, if you got long range shooting, like, that means they have to be in range, right? Like, you got I got 3 warp lightning cannons. They shoot 24 inches. No, they don't. They now shoot 12 inches, and they still only move 3 inches. Jerk. You know, you're just like, oh shoot, this changes the game, man. Anyway, Surging Stream, add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for friendly Idoneth Deepkin units. So again, it's across the battlefield. And then Spiteful Riptide. Each time an enemy unit uses a retreat ability, after the effect of that ability has been resolved, inflict D3 mortal damage on that unit. So that's just something you get, you know? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I'm not saying this is like an auto take almost, but sheesh. Sorry, I did get a little bit carried away. I do love my fishes. Yeah, I'm sure you could. The poop is the center of the bingo board. So, and there you go. You got it, even if you didn't. You know, it's just kind of assumed at this point. I'm not sure what unit I'd bring back with that ability. Maybe Reinforced Flies, Rodigus. Yeah, I like how IDK's reserves is a regiment. Make it an interesting list building thing. Is a reserve. Oh, it's a regiment. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's totally true. And it works much more with like the lore. Absolutely. Yeah. What do I think about my 3 Lords of Change? Think about the Lords of Change. That whiz is going to stop all sorts of battle tactics. Yeah, it's honestly, it's pretty sick. Give the Blight Kings some abilities, some anti-rend. That's true. Oh, I think you are a little behind. That's true. Yeah. So you'll see this in a bit. Right. My bad. Right. Anyway. And then we've got the Alopex. 12-inch move, 8 health, 4 up save, 2 control. Everything's just losing 2 inches of movement that used to be like pretty fast before. You've got the Razor Shell Harpoon. This is very interesting. So it is 2 attacks. They're both 2 attacks now. 3s and 2s, 1 rend, 3 damage. 1 is anti-monster in the Harpoon with an extra rend, and 1 is anti-cavalry. That's interesting. Cavalry. It makes sense because it's a net launcher, but I think you just take the Harpoon. Like, that's kind of the only unfortunate thing. Unless you, like, cavalry is really a thing in your meta. But, Says Levies. Barbed hooks. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say the only thing that kind of sucks about this is that we saw an example of being able to kind of tailor to your opponent with giants in the first preview we saw, whereas this is just like, I've made my list hoping that there's a lot of cavalry that I'm going to be coming up against, and it's very valid that you may not see any cavalry whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the only saving grace of that, I think, is that the attack profiles are the exact same otherwise. So it's just kind of like, if I see someone that has this
Well,
stuff,
the net launcher used to be one attack.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, and it also used to, I don't think it hit on, I think it wounded on threes. So, so like, you know, yeah, I don't know. The Razor Shell Harpoon has less attacks now too. Used to have 4 attacks. So, but it was D3 damage. Now it's 3 damage. I don't know. I think I'm mostly taking the Harpoon. Just because like you're probably gonna see like at least one monster in every list, but like a lot of units or a lot of armies just aren't gonna have any cavalry. So that seems like the safer bet. But anyway, bloodthirsty predators add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this unit's Alapex's ferocious bite, while it is within 6 inches of any damaged enemy units, or when it is within 6 inches of any enemy units at any model slain. This is pretty much the same as before. And oh, actually, I skipped over the barbed hooks and blades as 4 attacks, 3s and 4s. I think it was 4s and 3s before one, and it was 6 attacks. So that's down a little bit. And then you got the bite, which is, I think it was 3s and 3s, but I can't remember. But now it's 3 attacks, 4s and 2s, 2 rend, 2 flat damage, anti-monster plus 1 rend. That's exciting. I'm actually excited for that. They're here to take some bites out of your ass, you know?
So the barbed hooks and blades used to be 6 attacks, 3s, rend, 1 damage.
Sorry, say that again? Oh, yeah. So 3s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Yes, okay. That's what I had in my mind. 6 attacks. Well. That's what I said, I think. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And then what was the bite, though? The bite was what I can't remember.
The bite was 3s, rend, 2 damage.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
It's just gone from 3s to 4s, 2s, and then
this is better
against monsters.
This is better for that, yeah. And then the other thing, that's the other reason to take the harpoon, because it's the bite ability already leans into anti-monster tech, right? So then you shoot your harpoon at it, you cause damage, and then you get an extra bite attack on it when you go in to eat some ass. That came out wrong. Moving right along. Ensnared. Pick an enemy monster or cavalry unit that had any damage allocated to its this turn by a shooting attack. Roll a dice on a 3-up until the start of your next turn. Subtract 1 from the number of dice rolled when making charge rolls for the target. By the way, that's not just the net. That's insane. That's insane. The attacks are 18 inches now, by the way, and they used to be 24. But insane. Like, this thing is moving around already at 12 inches. I mean, again, it used to be 14. But, like, still, man. Like, insane. Yeah.
I really like that they turned this into a debuff piece instead of just like what it is now, where it's like you spam a bunch of sharks and it's just like 24-inch like shooting range where you just can't get at them ever.
That became what was good. The net was always, before it was if you hit with it, you can't pile in. So like it was a bit of a debuff piece. This is way cooler though. This is way cooler. It's more thematic. I approve. Carson.
You can also be stacking this on multiple monsters or cavalry, right? This isn't a once per shooting phase or anything like that. It's just like if you deal damage on a 3-up, you subtract 1 from the number of dice rolled, which is pretty huge. Granted, it's only against monsters or cavalry, but like that's usually what's going to be coming across the board to hit you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, this is so sick. Yeah, rather than just killing, because we already have the eels, right, Nick? So you're just like, okay, now we've got, presumably, we saw the Ishlian Guard here. This has never been there. I think I like what they've done here too, by the way. So you got 3 attacks with the Hell Sabers. I mean, everything else is, so they're still 14 inches, which is nice. 4 wounds, 4-up save, 1 control. Everything's pretty much the same. Then you've got your Hell Saber for 3 attacks, So it's 3 attacks, 3s, and 4s. It used to be 3s and 3s. 1 rend, 1 damage, but now you got anti-infantry, which is kind of exciting. So they can be kind of killing now too. You've got your Fangmora's Fangs. This is different for sure. They used to be 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage. Now they're 4s and 3s. So that's worse, but it kind of makes sense because like that's what they're doing with like the companions and mounts and stuff like that, right? Then you got your Biovoltaic Barrier. Any combat phase, pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. Roll a dice on a 3-up. Subtract 1 from the attacks characteristic of that unit's weapons for the rest of the turn. So this is kind of interesting. And it doesn't say do a minimum of 1, by the way. And then you've also got your Galv Shields, which gives this unit just a 5-up ward. I think this is a lot better than the Ethereal rule. They could never figure out how to make this unit like not poopy, you know, and like there was like corner case uses for them. I really like the look of them, and so I would just bring some. I painted them differently, blah blah blah. I'll stop talking about it, but you know, I don't know. I just think this is a much more interesting unit now, and I'm really excited. Yeah.
Regarding the -1 attacks thing, I have a feeling there's going to be something in the core rules somewhere that says like you can never have less than 1.
There might be, because we've seen a couple of other things so far that did say something along those lines, where it was just like subtract 1, and you're just kind of like, ugh, that could be bad. And it's specifically about attacks characteristic too. Like I'm wondering if it'll be like it'll be like the plus minus to hit, where it's like you could never be plus or -1 attack as well. So you could just like you could be buffing them or debuffing them for that. And then the Spearhead is the same: Thralls, Soul Scryer, Shark, and Eels. Again, I love this paint job that they've done. I think it's super cool. And I guess they did show they're probably going to be something similar, but I'll throw it out there: 6 attacks, 1 health, 5-up save, 1 control, and then they've got 2 attacks at 3s, 4s, -1 rend, 1 damage, and then anti-infantry just +1 rend. It used to be if they had like 3 or more wounds, then they would +1 damage, and then if they had 2 or less wounds, they were +1 attack. So it's just kind of different. It's sort of like a sideways thing. And then the passive is add 1 to the damage characteristic if they're targeting a monster specifically. So they kind of are getting the best of both worlds. We don't know if it's going to carry over though, but I just thought I'd throw it out there that it might be. It might be something similar, you know? Yeah. Okay. Time for my voice to rest. The meat.
It's time.
It's time.
The Ogre's preview. So, I'm going to kind of preface this by saying it's going to start off looking bad. It's going to start off like looking kind of simple and under the first impression, like not seeming great. I had a bit of a shell shock, and then I kind of thought about it after a while and realized I actually liked it. Stockholm syndrome, I guess, but like so we'll just start with the battle traits. So trampling charge, we knew that was going to kind of stay around. This is strictly just a debuff. This is you pick 1 unit within 1 inch after it charges, and then you roll a d3 on a 2-up inflicted amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. So you're basically always doing 2 or 3 mortal wounds or nothing. Mm-hmm. And this is the same as what we saw with the giants, right? Except with giants, it was a rampage, and it wasn't just like an ability that they got. So that's kind of nice. Then we have a passive, which is Ravenous Brutes. Add 2 to run rolls for friendly ogre units while you have not used the Feast on Flesh ability this battle. This is like, so previously we had +2 to move when we're out of combat and +2 to bravery while we're in combat. This is kind of like the spiritual successor to that. Sounds really bad. Like it sounds like, because
it sounds just worse.
It is. Yeah. It does sound worse. There's a couple reasons why I think it's just a side grade though. Number 1 is that, there are turns when you are running and getting +2 to run rolls is pretty nice.
Yep.
But the second reason is that if you look at the new redeploy keywords, it has run in the keyword to it. And if you're adding 2 to your redeploy, then you can be doing stuff like, let's say your opponent is doing, a lot of the time an opponent will say like, okay, I am outside of like 20 inches of you, which means that because you have 6 or 8 inch move characteristic or whatever, you won't be able to charge me. And you go, okay, sounds good. And you know that next turn you just simply can't get your units in range. Now, redeploy can happen regardless of where your opponent ended up. They don't have to end within 9 for you to redeploy. You can just do it at the end of their turn.
Right.
Now you can have a hammer unit that's at the very forefront of your army if you know that your opponent's not going to come smack you first turn. Redeploy, +2 redeploy. So potentially you could be moving 8 inches towards your opponent in their own turn, just outside of their charge range, only for you to go in your turn and move your regular move again and then charge them. So it's basically like extremely good, going towards your opponent in their own turn. That's my like reason why I think this is actually good.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being crap.
Right.
Now the problem is that it's kind of canceled out when you use Feast on Flesh. And reading Feast on Flesh is a once per battle army wide ability at the end of any turn. You pick each friendly ogre unit that is in combat or that has used a fight ability this turn to be the targets. Roll a d3 for each. On a 2-up, you heal them for that amount. So 2 or 3.
Okay.
And then the second thing that happens is you pick an enemy unit in combat with that target. You cannot pick the same enemy unit more than once, inflict an amount of mortal damage on that enemy unit equal to the roll. So it's basically like kind of a successor to Gulping Bite, where like you're rolling a dice and you're dealing damage. Except this is like once per battle, you heal a little bit and you deal a little bit of damage.
Right.
So maybe it's like a finishing blow, or maybe it's like you got to catch up a bit.
It's kind of taking place of your maw pit, or pot rather, as well.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, what's the maw pot going to be?
I have a sneaking suspicion that like maybe the maw pot allows you to use this twice or something like that, or maybe the maw pot.
Yeah.
It's tough to say.
Maybe it's like
Who knows?
if you kill a unit with when the maw pot is nearby, then you can use this ability again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not as big of a fan of the Feast on Flesh ability. Ravenous Brutes, I think, is very interesting from a tech perspective, though.
Yeah.
Adding 2 to your redeploys. And then we see one battle formation, which is...
just before you move on, I just wanted to highlight Alex saying he thinks that Trampling Charge is a buff for those that roll really crappy run rolls. Or charge rolls.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
That's true.
Yeah, there's no more box cars getting like 8 mortal wounds or something.
No,
like
no,
that.
exactly.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But Beast Handlers, you've got the Brutal Shock passive, which basically just adds 1 to the amount of mortal damage inflicted by Trampling Charge, if any. So you're either doing 3 or 4 then, which is kind of similar to the Nurgle one that we saw, where you're doing 3 or 4 on disease instead.
Totally.
So the only thing that kind of sucks is it says, if any. So still on a 1 or a 2, it does 0.
Yeah, that's true.
That's okay.
It is. I think this is kind of like, I know like your favorite phase is the charge phase, and that's where you just like gear up, and you're just like, here we go, baby. You start shaking your dice like 5 minutes before you're actually rolling them. But I think for a lot of people, it is a simplification. It is like kind of a, and it sounds bad, but like in a way, it's kind of like a, I don't know. It's simplifying things, and it's kind of like a speed and quality of play, you could kind of say, but I'm sorry for your Trampling Charge.
That's okay.
Rip.
I will read the flavor text just a little bit, just because it gives us a little bit of a key, or like a little bit of insight into what we're going to be seeing for the other formations.
Sure.
So it says, it basically talks about the other ones where it says 1 capitalizes on the hungry magic of butchers. So that's going to be like a blood gullet equivalent. One of them is going to be allowing experienced gunners to fire at point blank range. So that's like the underguts equivalent. So to me, that says that like lead belters and iron blasters are going to get shoot in combat probably.
Nice.
And then the 4th masks your advancing infantry under the scouring shroud of the Everwinter, encouraging warglets and Elferstuns to work together. So that's like the Winter Bite equivalent, where you have like probably -1 to hit in your own territory or something. But we'll have to see what those actually are. It's interesting that it says infantry. Basically, their phrasing is if like it's mixed arms, so
right?
That's kind of cool to me.
Yep. You're not known for doing mixed arms, though, right?
No, never. And then we get one prayer. Which
It's
is
funny
an
that
unlimited
mixed
prayer.
arms is literally called a Carson style list for ogres. That's kind of funny. I mean, they usually say your name wrong, but we all know what they mean.
Carbon.
Yeah, carbon or carbson.
Yeah. So we get this Call of the Blizzard prayer, which has a casting value 4. And it's you declare, pick a friendly Ogre Mawtribes priest to chant this prayer, pick a terrain feature within, not wholly within, just within 18 inches of them to be the target. Make a chanting roll of d6. Then you place a Blizzard token next to the target. Terrain features that have a Blizzard token gain the obscuring terrain ability. In addition, if the chanting roll was 10 plus until the start of your next turn, friendly beast collaborators units have a ward of 5 plus while they're within 3 inches of the terrain features that have Blizzard tokens. It says prayer, and then it's also unlimited, so you can do this a whole bunch, which is pretty cool. This is pretty neat. I like this as a tech piece, where like you're changing functionally how the board is. You can be hiding from shooting with the obscuring, which is really nice. It's only beast claw raiders, which kind of, oh no, it's not. It just gets obscuring. That's it.
Right.
So that's pretty spicy. The ward of 5 plus is pretty nice when you're within 3 inches. Yeah, I think it's cool. This is really thematic, and without really knowing enough about the rest of the army, it's tough to say whether this is going to be like good or used a lot. But it's neat. I like it quite a bit. And there's other spells and stuff like that still have yet to be revealed.
For sure.
I'm gonna take a look at the flavor text one more time.
Okay.
Which is above it. Actually, it says. Butchers are the most prominent weaving gastronomic magic to heal allies, which is interesting. We don't have a heal spell currently. Fill them with blood. It's under Arcana and Incantations if you're looking for it. Just above Call of the Blizzard.
Just above. Oh, above. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there it is. I see. You skipped the first. Got it.
So it says that, weaving gastronomic magic to heal allies, which is a heal spell, which is kind of interesting. We don't have that right now. Fill them with bloodlust, so probably like an equivalent to blood feast.
Right.
Which currently is +1 attack for a foot ogre unit. And then conjure torrents of foul grease to impede enemies. And that's probably an equivalent of greasy deluge, which picks something, gives them -1 to hit.
Will those be prayers as well?
That's from the spell lore. It says
okay.
That.
I was going to say, because greasy deluge I know is obviously a spell right now. So
yeah.
Huh.
So that's kind of cool. I actually like that the flavor text gave us the insight into what the sub-factions and the spells are actually going to be without actually telling us directly what they are.
I never thought to look at the other ones, to be honest.
I only did it because it's ogres.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's like littered through all of the other faction focuses, but I decided to just take a look at this a lot of people pointed it out too. And then we got our first war scroll. We've got Kragnos, who's had a bit of a change. You'll notice that he is a 4-up save instead of a 2-up base, which seems really bad.
Oh, I mean,
but
that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference.
5-up ward.
I know, but we had a 6-up ward right now, right? And there's way less mortal wounds in this game, right?
Yeah. Also, good night, Damon. It's good to see you.
Thank you for showing up. Yeah, we really appreciated having you here. You might not see this, actually. I remembered your...
No, he's caught up.
Oh, he's caught up? Okay. I don't know how you know that, but you guys
he
are
said that earlier in the chat.
Oh, did he? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, he's caught up. No, I see it now.
The Fire Slayers faction focus says they're getting another new foot hero. Thank God.
Does it really? Alex, I
hope not.
Because Alex is like always trolling, so like, I mean that maybe that's part of their whatever, but that's so funny. Thanks for joining us, Beefy. I see he's talking to dudes. Okay, my God. Okay, okay. Right. Anyway,
so Kragnos, he's gone from a 2-up to a 4-up save.
Yeah.
However, the Dread Mace is wounding on 2's base now, which I think wasn't the case before.
No, it was wounding on 2's.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's 6 attacks, 3's 2, Rend 3, damage 4.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the same as before.
I know, but he's still slapping hard.
No, yeah, he's slapping hard. There's no doubts there. There's no doubts there.
Rend 3, and again, like a lot of people are losing something on their war scroll, and he's just simply not. He's got his Tusk Breaker, which has exploding 6s, which is pretty cool. On 4's 2's Rend 2 D3 damage, and then the Hooves of Rack and Ruin for 3s, 2s, rend 1, 2 damage. So yeah, again, he's just still slapping super hard. The only thing that brackets is he goes down to 4 attacks with the Dread Mace when he takes 10 or more damage.
Oof.
He's got the Shield and Violet, which is a reaction to when an opponent declares a spell ability, which is if this unit was picked to be the target of that spell, roll a dice on a 3-up. Ignore the effect of that spell on this unit, and
You
this
got
unit cannot use
ability. It's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, this unit cannot use this ability more than once per phase. Or sorry, it can use it more than once per phase, but only once per spell ability. So it wouldn't apply to like an unlimited spell.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Avatar of Destruction, same thing as the Gargants. It just takes damage instead of immediately dying to something. Then he's got his once per turn army-wide any charge phase rampaging destruction, which is if he charged, you roll a dice for. You can either pick one of the following effects. You roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1. On a 2-up, inflict the amount of mortal damage equal to the roll. So still a crap load of mortal wounds.
Yep.
And then pick an enemy monster in combat with this unit and roll 2d6 on a 7. This ability has no effect. Otherwise, inflict an amount of mortal damage on that unit equal to the results on the dice used for the 2d6 roll multiplied together. So basically, it's the same as it is now.
Except for the first part of the ability, you're no longer rolling a 2-up and then rolling your damage.
Yeah.
So that's a straight up buff and quality of life change.
And what's nuts is that we've seen that like time and time again, they're reducing the amount of mortal wounds being done, like trampling charges down, Gargants.
But
mortal
this
wounds
is one
are
of the
down.
funnest rules they've ever made.
I know,
It makes
that's why
him
I'm
one of
saying-
the funnest units to use in the whole game.
That's why I'm saying Kragnos it did not get a nerf.
No, he didn't get a nerf. That his save characteristic is a pretty big deal, but like with the reduction in mortal wounds, I understand why they chose to do this. I just think it could have been a 3-up save. You know,
Again, though, like being on a 5-up ward is still really good.
It is
And
good.
The ability for him to rally now,
yeah,
he can be healing like on average 3 or 4 wounds a turn,
right.
right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because heroic recovery was only D3, right? And if you rolled less than his bravery or whatever,
Yeah,
you got to remember that like anybody who has a ward save has much better access to like rally healing at this point.
wait, why is that?
So rally is just like you roll 6 dice, and for each 4-up you can heal 1,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Mhm.
So it's like on average you're healing 3, and you could be healing 6.
Yeah,
So if you have a ward rather than just like a really good armor save, you might be taking more damage, but you can be healing it back up. And for each heal that you do, you're getting essentially like 33% more wounds via your ward save.
I see
Does
what
that
you're
make sense?
saying. I that's what I thought you meant, but by the same token, like it kind of applies to the like when you have like an insane 2-up save, it's also like just hard to put it on him. So I feel like it's just kind of moving that around. He's still awesome. He's still gonna be. I'm still gonna take him. Like, oh, come on. Like I was playing Cruel Boys so I could play Kragnos. This is where it is at. He's so much fun to paint, by the way. He's actually just like a gem all around.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to painting him for sure. But yeah, he's a War Master as well, which has an effect in like the regiment, which is kind of cool. And yeah, 5-up ward, monster hero, all that, and a bag of potato chips. Then we've got the Huskard on Stonehorn, which is up next. It's 14 health, 10-inch move only instead of 12-inch. This is where it kind of gets like a little like not great. When you see the move characteristic go to 10 inches, it's actually going from 14 to 10. Just because previously the ogres had +2 to move when they're outside of combat, and it was 12 inches base.
Right.
So that's like a 40% reduction, or actually it's more than 40% because it started at 14 inches. It's significantly slower, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Control is still 10, still a 4-up save, and you can pick the chain trap, harpoon launcher, and blood vulture. Blood vulture stocks are definitely down.
Man, huge difference. My God.
Yeah.
Just to choose, I choose you, you take a mortal wound.
Yeah. So blood vultures are just like everyone's prying them off the Huskards now, I think.
Yeah, that's too bad because they look cool.
I'll probably keep it on there. I don't think anyone's going to care that
No.
what you pick, right?
I feel like the chain trap already looked cooler anyway, so I'm glad that seems like what I would pick. I know it's like 6 inches less, but it's got the anti-monster rule on it, and I don't know. It's a giant chain trap on a chain or whatever. It's a bear trap on a chain basically, right? So
Yeah, none of the shooting attacks are like particularly astounding.
No.
The melee weapons, punches and kicks went from I think 3s and 3s to 4s and 2s, but who cares about that anyway? The rock hard horns went from 4s and 3s to 4s and 2s. So that's just a straight buff.
Yep.
It's just strictly better. Run 2, 3 damage like it always was, and then charge +1 damage, which functionally is the same.
Right.
Has the companion ability, and then it brackets down to 4 attacks, which I quite like because I think currently it's like it brackets slowly, and then the worst it can be is 3.
Okay.
Whereas now it's like 10 or more damage points, I think, was around the point when you're at 4 attacks, and that's the maximum you can be debuffed, which is pretty good. I'm happy with that.
We haven't talked about this before, but like just the quality of life of not having to like look through a chart. You can just remember 10 wounds on like everything or most things. You just have a basic memory of what they do. It usually only affects one thing, and then you're good. It's so much better. You know?
Yep. Then the Stonehorns hooves, D6 attacks, 4s, 2s, run 1 D3 damage. That one's a little worse. It used to be just 3s and 2s, and it's a companion as well. And it's also a little worse in that it doesn't get +1 damage to its attacks on the charge either. So that's a little bit of a downgrade. Then we've got a passive for Stone Skeleton. Ignore the first damage point that would be allocated to this unit in each phase. I'd rather have a ward save.
But it didn't. Did it have a ward save before?
Yeah, it had a 5.
All Stonehorns
did.
Ward. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
Whereas this doesn't have any ward save whatsoever anymore.
Fair.
Granted, if you're using the Everwinter Prayer and you're managing to get it off on the 10 or whatever, then at that point, for sure, like you have a 5-up ward save and you're ignoring the first damage, which is pretty nice.
Right.
But definitely they're a little less tough. Then you've got your Rampage, which is Everwinter's Goad. Pick each friendly and enemy monster within this unit's combat range, so 3 inches to be the targets. Effect, roll a dice for each target on a 3-up. If the target is a friendly Ogre Mawtribes unit, its companion weapons have crit 2 hits for the rest of the turn.
Damn.
Yes, please.
God dang.
Exploding 6s on Stonehorns. Yes, please.
Wow.
Sounds great.
Wow.
And so you charge 3 Stonehorns in, and then the Huskard uses this ability. If he rolls a 3-up on both, then you just have a row of 3 Stonehorns with exploding 6s now. So that's terrifying.
God
and then if the target is an enemy unit, subtract 1 from hit rolls for its attacks made with its companion weapons for the rest of the turn. So, it's not the greatest. There's plenty of monsters that don't care about their companion attacks whatsoever. But
also, like,
still cool.
It could be like a situational thing too.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it's either does nothing or it's great. So
for sure.
I'm happy with that. I really like this, and I think that I have a feeling that like the Stonehorn and the Thundertusk are going to have like different monstrous actions or rampages based on if it's like the Frostlord or the Huskard, which I prefer actually.
Right.
Because how it currently is it's tied to the animal itself. It's that a Stonehorn always gets its 3d6 surf, and then the Thundertusk always gets its fight last thing if it charged.
Right.
Whereas if it's this, if a Huskard has like a Everwinter's Goad and then a Frostlord has something else, then it gives you a reason to like use one or the other than just like the Frostlord's spear attacks on the top or it being a priest.
Totally.
It's kind of nice. And this is a priest. It's priest 1, hero monster, Destruction, Ogre Mawtribes, Ogre, Beast, Claw Raiders, etc. So, I like it. This is a side grade as well. Not as tough. It's got some cool tech, and it still hits pretty hard. So
nice.
And its main weapon got more reliable.
Yeah, for sure. 2 up.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The next up we've got. So we've just got 2 more War Scrolls. The next up is the Ogre Gluttons, which, again, the move characteristic looks the same, but because we don't have +2 to move when you're not in combat, it is a downgrade. So 6-inch move instead of 8 inches. Still 4 health. Still a 5-up save. Still counts as 2 on objectives. The melee weapons, still the same amount of attacks. You don't have a choice between the Iron Fists and the paired weapons anymore. But it went from 3s and 3s to 4s and 2s. Run 1, 2 damage. So it's effectively almost the same. 4s and 2s is like I think 6% worse than 3s and 3s or something like that.
Okay.
Which is fine. Like I'm totally fine with that. I think there's much more ways to buff to hit than there are to wound, so I'm pretty happy with
sure.
being like wounding on 2s naturally.
Right.
Then they have this interesting passive ability. It's just 1, but it says if you've used the Feast on Flesh ability this battle, add 1 to the control score of this unit for each model in this unit. So let's say if you have a unit of 6,
That's crazy.
if you have a unit of 6, let's say you like put all of them on one objective. All 6 of them are on the objective. You use the Feast of Flesh. All of a sudden, instead of counting as 12, they actually count as 18. They count as one more each. But the more interesting thing is that you don't even have to like put all of them on the objective to get the full use out of that. In fact, so they also have a standard bearer, which adds 1 to their control score. So they count as 19 when they use Feast of Flesh, and all of them are standing on the point. But you use Feast of Flesh, and you put 1 single ogre toe on the point. If it's a unit of 6, then that 1 ogre counts as 9 on the objective, because it says add to the control score for each model in this unit. It doesn't matter if they're standing on the objective or not. So you're already just adding 6 to the control score with Insatiable Gluttony using.
But for each model add 1 to the control score of this unit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1 ogre puts his toe on the point.
That's crazy.
You add 1 for each model in the unit, so 6
I
if
hope
it's
they
full
keep
strength.
that. Like that seems like something they didn't think about, but like I hope they keep that, because like they're very much like that was sort of their thing before.
I really like it. I like that. So they still hit ridiculously hard. Like the people always underestimated gluttons, and if you still underestimate them, then go take a look at the Ogre Mawtribes deep dive, where I start pulling out the numbers and comparing them to like a Stonehorn.
Yeah.
Like stupid amounts of damage, and they still do just as much damage. Like, and they have this really cool control ability where like they're really like bullying people on points. Like it's borderline Sons of Behemoth.
Yeah.
You know how much you're counting as more. And they have a musician, they have a standard bearer, so they can be healing and bringing back guys and whatnot. So that's pretty nice. But I think the biggest, scariest thing in this article so far is this last war scroll, the Gorger Maw Pack. Good God,
they're so crazy.
Previously they were a bit of a tech piece, and they had just like 1 less attack than gluttons.
Right.
So if you look at their wheel, it's the exact same as it is right now. 6 inch. Well, sorry, less move because of the no Ravenous Brutes, but they're 5 health on a 6-up save, so pretty paper thin. They count as 2 on control, move 6. Their weapon is what changed, and this is where it gets kind of crazy, because previously it was 3 attacks each. 3s run 1/2 damage, and obviously no abilities of any kind. Now it's just flat 5 attacks each. 4s, 2s, run 1/2 damage, and anti-infantry +1 red. So if these guys are swinging into infantry, they're averaging like, it's something crazy, like almost 25 damage against a 4-up save.
God damn. That's like crazy.
It's pretty disgusting. Like I think this might be the hardest hitting like unit we've seen so far in 4th.
Oh man. Other than Kragnos, like, or whatever, who's going to be like triple their cost.
If you count up the Kragnos is like total damage, what does he do? He does 24 damage with the Dread Mace.
Yeah.
He does potentially 9 more with his Tusk Breaker and 12 more with his Hooves of Rack and Ruin. So that's 36 plus 9 is 45 damage cap.
Yeah.
These guys have a damage cap of 52.
Jeez.
And they can be at Ren 2. So they can hit harder than Kragnos.
Damn.
They deep strike, but now they have to come in from a battlefield edge instead of just anywhere on the board.
Right.
And then that's kind of their special ability. But if you bring them with Kragnos, again, they can be rolling 3d6 to charge out of that, coming onto the board, which is pretty nice. They have a musician, so they can rally a little bit better. But yeah, these guys are just hitting like a truck. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, their stock has gone up. Like, you were using them before and liking them a lot for other reasons, but yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah, I really like where these guys are.
Also, like, I don't know how you feel, but like, so they lost their ability to make you ignore your own commands. I feel like that was like a feel bad for both people, because like for me, I was like, this just feels bad, right? Obviously, this traditional feels negative play experience or whatever. Of I don't get to do the thing that I'm supposed to be able to do. But for you too, it's like I never get this. I never get this, and then sometimes you'll just get it like 3 or 4 times in a row, and it's just like okay, and you're like I swear I never get this normally, and then we're both not happy. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But what I really like though is that I've just seen that these war scrolls are being put into like very distinct archetypes.
Yes.
Where it's like the gluttons they still hit really hard, but they're like objective bullies. You've got the Husker, which is going to be buffing your monsters and debuffing enemy monsters. And then the Gorgers are just strict, like we're going to come onto the board, and when we do, we're going to absolutely slap the crap out of you. Like it's
there's so many quality attacks,
which gives me a lot of hope that like Iron Guts are going to have something special to them, and you're just going to see like more niche things instead of it being like, well, this is a hammer that does this amount of damage and has a little bit better rend, and this is a hammer that does more flat damage but just high volume of attacks, and it's just there's less nuance.
Right.
So I in general I like having more tech pieces and like more roles for my army. So
totally,
I'm a fan. I quite like this actually.
And these new models they also slap. So
yeah,
that's I like when they give the cool models like the some cool rules to match. But yeah, was that the last thing? We already knew what
that was the last thing.
Okay. I mean, I guess there is the lead belchers. Like we're assuming they're probably going to be similar in terms of like what their thing is, right?
Yeah, probably. It's tough to.
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
But yeah.
So, some Spearhead stuff has been like more similar to what it is in third, and some Spearhead has been kind of equivalent to the fourth War Scroll. But,
right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point. I guess, and then like, so sorry, before I move on, is that the last? So,
yep.
Something that I meant to bring up before that I remembered. Oops, that's not the right thing. Anyway, so when this box comes out, oh yeah, no, this is it. The Slaughter of Hellcrown. I forgot to talk about this earlier. So it looks like they're doing the same thing as with, what was it? Leviathan, where like you report your battle and then depending on who wins, like whoever gets more, then they're going to reveal whoever first. I don't know. Like, I really didn't believe them that the Tyranids won the last one. Like, it feels like they've just planned it out and like, you know what I mean? But I think it's a really fun thing. So I'm glad that they're doing it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun way to engage the community and whatnot. So
yeah,
I'm for it.
I'm for it as well. I agree. I think it's cool. But and then the last piece of news that I put at the back in case we didn't have time to get to it was there is like a Dawnbringer article, and it's really long. Like I'll just scroll through it on speed, and yeah, it's like a nice long, and I'll flip back up here. The ending is interesting. Like for those of us that were there for like early Age of Sigmar, it feels like they're kind of repeating information, but it's more like a final sort of, underlined period behind it. Like this is definitely a thing. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw it out there for if people were interested in kind of where the lore is sort of going. It's kind of fun, Yeah. I don't know did you get a chance to read it?
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just laughing because Ledivicus says, everyone fights for Skaven. Rob will kill you if you don't. Do you watch Forged in Fire, Ledivicus? Because it feels very much like a Doug Markida line there. I don't know. Have you ever seen that show? It's really, it's one of the only actual TV shows that I like. And it's a reality show, and people they're blacksmiths, and they come on and they make like a knife from scratch on the show. And it's really wholesome and fun. But one of the judges is like this a very famous Filipino martial arts expert called Doug Marcaida, and he does Kali or whatever, Kali or whatever you want to call it. And yes, you do. I knew it because of the way he said that. And then when he tests them out on like, pigs or ballistic gel and that kind of thing. And then if their weapon will kill, he goes, it will kill, because of his accent being from the Philippines. Anyway, it's so funny because it's like a meme in my own family. And when he said that, I was instantly like, it's a great show. It's super good. Yeah. Even if you don't have cable, I'm sure there's ways of finding it, But yeah. Anyway, is there anything? I know it was a bit of a long one, folks. We had like a bit of, person reads from the internet kind of going on this week, but yeah. Is there anything else we're forgetting?
Don't think so. I mean, we're gonna be having another live battle report this week, probably on Friday. We'll kind of message out about what that's going to be at the time.
Yeah.
And then based on like the timeline, we'll probably have like maybe one more third battle report
right
after that live. And then now that we know that July 13th is going to be like the 4th edition like launch date, July 13th is when we're going to try and do like a big launch stream where we're like actually playing 4th edition and whatnot. That doesn't mean that, maybe if we have enough rules beforehand, we'll try to do like a live stream before that. But definitely July 13th is like the day that we're going to try and do a launch stream.
We're really hoping to do it because we can't do it the next week because you're going to be
in Tacoma.
In Tacoma, and I am going to be also engaged with other frivolity.
Sounds very ominous, but yes.
It's not. It's just, I don't know. Like, those who know me know I like fighting games, and the biggest tournament in the world by a country freaking mile is the following weekend. Last year, I think at EVO, they had over 7,000 entrants for Street Fighter 6 alone. And that's someone who wins that tournament. It's double elimination too, by the way. And it goes almost all fighting game tournaments are double elimination, but like they crown a victor by the end of it. It's amazing. It's really great. And they have like usually 7 or 8 other games as well that I don't pay as much attention to, but anyway, it's like my Super Bowl or whatever. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, like thanks to everyone for joining us. You guys were hilarious as usual in the chat. Yeah, keep an eye out. We'll tweet it out, and we always do the notifications from YouTube as well in advance for the live battle reports. But yeah, anything I'm forgetting before we run? Okay,
don't think so.
Well, thanks to everyone again, and sorry we didn't make it last week. I was so sick. I barely got in time for this week, but. I won't be playing in it because we're kind of worried, Leviticus, that I'm going to cough into the mic or whatever. I was pretty good tonight, but yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be Kenrick and someone that some people aren't going to be familiar with on the channel, but we're not totally sure yet. We're still figuring it out because first it was, important to make sure that that I wasn't going to contaminate everyone who walks through the door. Yeah. Thanks you guys for watching, and yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.